July 7th, Best Ball Breakfast. We are off to the races, the final sprint to the 2025 season. I feel like this is the kickoff of normies and casuals, the kickoff of the 2025 redraft season with the Scott Fish Bowl starting today. But we are here to draft best ball teams, specifically Best Ball Mania, as we chase that $2 million top prize. You guys know the drill. We got a solo draft up top. We got Pat Carrain in the second slot. We got Mike Leone in the third, and then batting cleanup today, special guest Josh Norris from Underdog. I'm Pete Overzet. This is Best Ball Breakfast that I can no longer call BBBB or BBB because of negative connotations. Let's get to it.
It really isn't that hard, guys. You just go top two, win it, win it.
Okay, I think we can be done here at running back.
You only have 3 running backs. This roster is littered with game theory, arbitrage, exploits, and theoretic reasoning.
Bro, light mode, my eyes, dude.
I don't know. I prefer that move more in a time box contest.
Bro, have you ever scrolled so far down that, like, there's no more names, bro?
Don't do drugs, kids. Draft and drive instead.
You can't have it both ways, dude. Quid pro quo.
All right, GMs, how are we doing? Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. Got to catch up on the chat here. We already got a ton of activity in here. We got some new members. We got Brett gifting memberships. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate you as always. Let me try to do a bunch of housekeeping while getting this draft up here on the screen. We are in a Best Ball Mania draft. Let me quickly check which number this is for me. I think it's 56 or 57. It is 59. Wow, I undershot it there. Draft 59 here on Best Ball Breakfast. That means we'll be doing 60 with Carrain, 61 with Leone, and 62 with Josh Norris. My goodness, you guys. Look at everybody in a great mood, feeling generous, coming off of the long holiday weekend here. Brady Sanders also gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, sir. Very kind of you, very generous. Hope everybody who receives these thanks these fellas for their gifts. It, of course, makes you eligible for the Best Ball Bash, which is every Wednesday, including this Wednesday. If you are a YouTube member, you simply put your hashtag in the chat, join the bash, and then I will spin the wheel, and one of you will get to come on and draft with me. Look at this. I mean, are we back? I mean, 1-6 Barkley. I mean, I learned my lesson fading Barkley last year. We're doing Barkley at 1-6 here. I guess his ADP is 4. But we did have Nico goes 1-2. Lego my Nego flipping the board here. Jefferson, Lamb goes ahead of Bijan. And then Bijan goes. So we'll get Barkley and we'll let out just a nice little morning here to start the day. Kevin hit 100 BBMs this weekend. Wow. Very nice. That is a frenetic pace you are on. All right. Yeah, there's so many housekeeping things we have to do. One thing I need to address now, and I was talking to my producer, Mark, my Underdog light. April was messing with I have this little remote for the Underdog light over here. April was down in my office this morning, mashing away on the buttons, and now the Underdog light doesn't work. I do not know what happened, but we were going to have to tech lord that later. So April, that one is on you. You win this round. Ice cubes. Yes. So we have, we're basically middling the potential coffee controversy of iced coffee versus the hot coffee. We do have an existing cold brew going here in the Scroll BF down pint glass, by the way, which you can always get in the Overzet store. No pour for that, but I do have a hot pot of coffee. My wife actually made it. I was not going to make it this morning, but Lauren wanted some. So there's some leftovers there. So we are going to get a classic coffee pour there. So I will not deprive you guys of that. I will mention on After Dark I think we did it on Thursday, I got goaded into doing a water pour from my my water jug into my water bottle. And there were some rave reviews for the water pour. People said it was arguably better than the coffee pour. So who knows? I might need to start mixing up the various liquids that I pour into jars for your guys' ASMR satisfaction. Look at this. Are they going to Schmo? Give me Derrick Henry at 19, Schmo. Give me Derrick Henry at 19. Yes. Let's go. This is just, you guys are going to let me go high tea this morning. We're going to go a Barkley Derrick Henry start like it's goddamn 2024. Look at that. Barkley at 6, Derrick Henry at 19. The Piss Boys are out and about. And I had my creatine and my protein powder this morning, and now I'm ready to go with Barkley and Derrick Henry. Let's go. Let's go. Exactly. I just won last year's BBM. Yeah, this draft is wild here. What else happened? I'm trying to see what weird stuff did we get. I guess Rashee Rice goes 17 and Tyreek goes 18. That'll do it. That will do it. It is go get your guys Piss Boy season. How many Barkley Henry starts are there this year? Anybody have one? Everyone likes the team now. Just wait until Michael Pittman is my wide receiver too. And then we'll see how much we like it. I did not think I was going to get Henry there. I thought, okay, for sure. Schmo will take the Puka and Derrick Henry start. I have been, what did we get? I think it was on 4th of July, we got the Chihuahua dropped and the Dachshund. And I believe the Chihuahua already filled. I think I got 2 entries into that. I only got 2 entries. I did get my Dachshunds in there. But man, you people were ravenous for those drafts over the 4th of July weekend. We also had that nice promo running on the site. So some of the eliminators were filling early. That's been my contest of choice right now when I'm drafting. Going to have a video out on that on the Deposit Kingdom channel in the next day or two. I'll tell you guys more about that in a second. Man, this is like a draft from 2 years ago. Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown on the board. Garrett Wilson goes. I have to decide, do I just continue to stack these fallers? I tend to like Jacobs a little bit more on wide receiver starts. Let's go full-blown high T. I wrote about this in Fantasy Life. I do think this year it is completely viable to do hyper-fragile starts. And these are the exact kind of scenarios that I want to be open to them when I'm going to get really nice values here. I'm torn on the Jacobs things. Jacobs like unlocks like a truly rare combo. Like there's going to be no Barkley, Henry, Jacobs teams, but I do prefer just taking the bigger cut. I think Chase Brown does have the wider range of outcomes there. And when I start Barkley, Henry, let me get a crack at a guy who I do think in certain scenarios could be a top 5 running back there. So we'll start Barkley, Henry, Brown. And we'll see if we can dig ourselves out of this hole. But yes, I am feeling Barkley, Henry, Chase Brown. Let's go. Sorry, I don't know what got into me there. That was very aggro. But yes, eliminator draft strategy video. That's going to be out on the Deposit Kingdom channel. Very, very excited about this video. Christopher Davis from the Deposit Kingdom was working on some sims on the contest and gave me a lot of great research. And then we put together some actionable takeaways. I also did a draft kind of walking through how to put those ideas in practice. It's basically the most fun I've had working on content video strategy for best ball since like the week 17 video a couple years ago. So I'm very excited for that. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the Deposit Kingdom channel. I believe I have that pinned in the chat, and that video will drop in the next day or two. The poor audio listeners, I service those guys, but now they're going to have to listen to my guttural high testosterone screams as I start Barkley, Henry, and Jacobs. This is what happens when you start 3 running backs. Then people get to start to question your levels of T. I guess I did lose a notch of testosterone there going Chase Brown over Josh Jacobs. The room starts to normalize though a little bit. Mike Evans at 38, Tet at 39. We see the 12-hole goal, James Cook. That's always like an interesting move. Pass on Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Ashton Genty to take to take Drake London at 13, but then pull up James Cook there. This seems like a good team to go with DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf right here at ADP. Let's get a target magnet here as we start to build out the room. Can I mention, I don't know when this happened. Maybe I just don't draft quite enough, but I do feel like the George Kittle ADP move happened in like the blink of an eye. I feel like we were on Best Ball Breakfast for, weeks and weeks being like, when's George Kittle going to move up? Everyone and their mother says George Kittle's undervalued, and he's just still chilling here with an ADP of 49, falling to pick 51, 52. And then I looked up one day and it's like, oh, now George Kittle has an ADP of 41. I don't know how that happened so quickly, but it did. The market finally capitulated to every single person with a platform saying George Kittle is undervalued. So pats on the back to anyone who said George Kittle is too cheap, to anyone who said George Kittle is the best pick on the board. We did it. We did it. He now costs more money. He now costs more. Mathology, any fun 4th of July highlights? Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was like probably the best beach day of the year down there on Friday. So that was awesome. Got down to the beach both in the morning and in the afternoon after April's nap. The little neighborhood we're in, they do a little kids parade, on vehicles. So April enjoyed that. And then, yes, we dipped out early on Sunday morning to avoid the traffic. We were up at like 6:30, got in the car by 7. And then I checked the traffic later when we got back home. There was a 13-mile backup at the Sagamore Bridge. For those of you who are not familiar, that is one of the 2 bridges you can get to Cape Cod from. Basically an hour plus of traffic getting from the main land over to the Cape. So very glad that we avoided that. All right, we'll grab Calvin Ridley here. Again, same kind of idea as DK Metcalf, just getting some wide receivers here who project for a decent amount of targets and getting to do it at not an insane cost. That's the nice thing about what I've noticed this year. You have the wide receiver avalanche early, but you're still able to get some of these wide receivers at a decent cost. I feel like in previous years, when you get caught in this avalanche, you were having to pull guys up 10, 15 picks past ADP, where this year it just doesn't feel like you get punished quite as much. And part of that is because we do see people take the elite QBs, they take Kittle, but pretty crazy here. Since James Cook goes at pick 36, we're 20 picks later at pick 56, only 1 running back has gone. Omarion Hampton goes 46. Otherwise, 20 straight picks with non-running backs there. FK Coolers, I'm in Mass and my ex lived over the bridge, so I know the struggle all too well. Yeah, it's easier when, it's a bad weather day and you're like, all right, let's just pack it up and head home. It was nice on Sunday though. So it would have been nice to get an extra beach day in there. But I think back when Lauren and I didn't have a kid, we would push it, right? Because it's like, what's the worst case that happens? We get stuck in traffic, we listen to music, we listen to some podcast, and it's fine. But with a toddler, it's like, no, that's a ticking time bomb, especially a toddler who is, in the throes of being potty trained and who's going to get antsy and hungry. There's just no way you can risk, a 2.5, 3 hour drive involving traffic. So we made the prudent decision and I do not regret it. Just like I do not regret my hyper fragile, high testosterone start. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown. We come back and we grab DK Metcalf and Calvin Ridley. Post-drive traffic victory lap is such a sad move. No way, man. I'm euphoric. Yeah, it's like pulling the ladder up behind you. I saw all those suckers being like, oh, you couldn't get your ass up early to drive. The funny thing is the traffic actually, because I'm sick and I kept checking it throughout the day. Around dinner time, it had chilled out, but everyone's like, no, we'll beat the traffic going at 9 a.m. No, sir, you did not beat the traffic. Only the ones who had the toddlers getting them up at 6 a.m. beat the traffic. Oh, is a dad move. I was going to say yes. I was like, sad. No way, man. Let me have this. Let me have this. All right. Schmo here has Lamar, Jacobs, Puka, Tyreek, and Jawan. One of my favorites, Trevion Henderson, still on the board here, but we are not going to be taking a running back at this price. I hope I can get Jerry Jeudy here. Let's put him in the queue and see what Schmo does. You going to take him? Boom. He takes Trevion Henderson. Look at this. Let's take 3 straight wide receiver ones Everyone loves a good wide receiver 1 distinction. You can't take Devontae Smith. He's the wide receiver 2. Well, how about this for you wide receiver 1 bros? DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy. There we go. There we go. Not to mention DK Metcalf and Jerry Jeudy famously play each other in the Turd Bowl in week 17. Look at that. The ultimate week 17 correlation. Jerry Jeudy and DK Metcalf going back and forth. You want the coffee pour? That's about right. I feel like we need it. Thank you for the reminder, Guilherme. Thank you for the reminder. Here we go. I keep seeing comments about my quarterback room already. Everybody, you guys are worried about my quarterback room here? QB room of Ward, Rodgers, and Shadur. Relax. I do not think I've selected a Cleveland quarterback in non-super flex contests. Okay. So don't worry about that. But I don't have an issue with something. I think you can get by with, like, I don't know, a Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Ward room. Sure. I'll fuck with that. All right. We'll see what Wally does here. Starts 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. Caleb Johnson still on the board. Quinshon Judkins, DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Tony Pollard, Aaron Jones. The Piss Boys standing firm, refusing to select running backs. How about this for the wide receiver 1 bros out there? Khalil Shakur, wide receiver 1s, come on down. Khalil Shakur, you're the next contestant on Help Peter Dig Out of This High T running back start. The bye week bros have to be loving this team too. Week 5, 10, 9, and 7, 4 wide receiver 1s. How am I going to lose? JGFC, what are you doing? JGFC, the chat just told me what is going on here. Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Josh Allen, then Xavier Worthy, Jalen Hurts, then Jaden Reed, then Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, Jalen Hurts naked, Josh Allen naked. You are a fucking madman, JJFC. Salute. Hat tip. Bravo. You are a goddamn madman. I do feel pretty jacked up this morning. I don't know what's going on. Maybe just well rested. Got a good night's sleep. I had my my breakfast smoothie that I outlined the recipe for last week. Feeling good. Should we star method Rashad Bateman and Chase Claypool? Is Gritty still drafting Chase Claypool these days? No Cap Max says, Pete, bringing the tea and the energy this morning. I just let out an ow in the middle of my office. Sorry, boss. Just got really excited. How do you spin zone that? I think you just spin zone it for whatever you're working on for your boss. We went into... We're looking for this like umbrella for shade out on our back patio. And so we were in this furniture store yesterday. And there were these 2 guys who were working in there. They're probably college kids. And one was bragging to the other about how he's really gotten good at Excel. It was one of the funniest conversations I've heard. He's like, yeah, man, I really fucking dialed in my Excel formulas. He goes, I figured out some shortcuts, dude. That's just kind of like completely unlocked stuff for me. And the other guy goes, yeah, man, I'm so naive to that stuff. That shit's hard. And he's like, yeah, man, but like once you figure it out, like the whole world opens up to you. And I was like, can you please put the fries in the bag, sir? I got to get out of here. Poopo Frap, GM. Colin says, believe it or not, I'm running reports on what we call hazard hounds at work. There you go. Let out a value hazard hound. Chris thought they were safe getting Hurts with Devontae. Not with JJFC in the room. Not with JJFC in the room. So we start 3 running backs. We go 4 wide receivers here. DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakur. We are back on the clock here. I do really, I want to keep my bullet for a running back available. So let's go let's go Hawkinson here. Wide receiver did finally get wiped out. Jaden Higgins goes 88. Would have clicked him. Cup goes 90. I don't have any interest in Mahomes. Don't have any interest in Baker. Don't have any interest in Kyler. Let's go ahead and grab Hawk slightly behind ADP. That's kind of how I've been playing Hawk. If I have Jefferson and you're trying to set something up there, if he falls a little bit, if it's been completely wiped out at wide receiver, I think I could have gone Aaron Jones. The problem is when you get these cascading value rooms at running back, it means it's going to continue to happen throughout the draft. And if I take Aaron Jones there, I am fully done at running back with 4 through 91 picks or whatever. So I want to give myself a little bit of roster construction flexibility in picking off a running back that I really like at a value or that makes sense for this team. So don't want to kind of corner myself into only 3 positions the rest of the way. It does seem like this room is going to be willing to play chicken with quarterback beyond JGFC here with the 3 elites. So we might be able to be good there. And it could be a spot too where we pull the trigger on like a naked quarterback or someone we don't necessarily need to stack. We could do like a Fields Knicks here. Knicks is actually pretty nice to backdoor stack. You have Mims, you have Pat Bryant. You could tack Dobbins on and be done at running back. Kyler Murray, less so. It's really, I guess you do Trey Benson and Michael Wilson. Justin Fields is pretty nice because one, you don't need to stack him. You can do Mason Taylor, do Braylon Allen cheap. We could also take Keon Coleman here as well and just kind of double up the Bills wide receivers. I'm kind of surprised that JGFC didn't take Keon Coleman there, having Josh Allen. Grady drafted a BBM team with Estime as his running back too in a 4 running back room last week. That's incredible. Man, so Kyler's kind of a value here. We do get Kyler opposite Chase Brown in week 17. I think if this room is going to continue to push quarterbacks, I have not been doing a ton of Keon Coleman, but I do kind of like the double up here with Coleman and Shakir. I'm going to be building out some other stacks. Let's go ahead and grab Coleman here right at ADP. And we'll see if this room continues to push quarterback. So here's how we're looking through 9 rounds. Barkley, Henry, Brown, 3 running backs off the top. And now DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakur, TJ Hawkinson, and Keon Coleman there at wide receiver. We also get the week 17 Oppo, Barkley with Shakir and Keon Coleman, which is nice. I've been trying to open up my mind a little bit to Keon Coleman more. I was listening to Gretchen Leone talk about him on their projections podcast. I forget who else was making a compelling case for Keon Coleman, but he is definitely someone I had kind of just scratched off my list altogether. But I don't want to necessarily be overly penalizing year 2 guys, especially ones that are tied to Josh Allen. And I mean, it was a very frustrating run out for Keon Coleman last year. One of the things Leone mentioned on that show was just kind of the injury stuff he was dealing with and how the team kind of chalked a lot of his poor performance up to never recovering fully from that injury. So hopefully that is contributing to it more. And, the hope is that he could have kind of like a Quentin Johnston-like bounce back in year 2, where he's kind of left for dead. I mean, you're not left for dead at pick 102, but, considering we were drafting this guy at the 6-7 turn last year, it's a pretty big fall. So I'm trying to mix him in when it makes sense. I think the correct answer is you really don't want to be taking wide receiver at pick 102. Generally, you'd rather be grabbing one of these quarterbacks, a tight end. But I think in this instance, grabbing a Keon Coleman share makes a bit of sense. I will say here, if this room is going to give me Kyler Murray at 115, I will take Kyler Murray at 115. Let's do it. Let's take, what do you got? So no Arizona stuff here. 144. Schmo already has Lamar and no. All right, we're going to do Kyler Murray at pick 115. I will do it. He is in the queue. Make me take him. All right, boom. Kyler Murray at 115. We'll make it work. We will make that work. Always nice to have Kyler Murray with one of McBride or Harrison, but at a certain point, I think the value tips in the other direction. And kind of the hope, right, with Kyler anyways, is that he runs more, right? That's what's going to fully, make Kyler a great fantasy asset again, is if he runs more. Something, we had Mike Wright from the Fantasy Footballers on the randomizer this week. He's, of course, an Arizona resident and big Cardinals fan. And that's basically the kind of hopium from Arizona Cardinals fans, is that he gets back to running. Kyler is already on record saying he wants to run more. So even though the super high-end scenarios involve, a Marvin Harrison breakout, Trey McBride, actually scoring touchdowns, I do think McBride really smashing his ADP just comes down to how much he runs. So at 115, I think we can play him naked. We can try to prioritize Michael Wilson on this team, but feel fine about Kyler and Chase Brown there. This is again an interesting spot in the draft here. This could be a spot to take our other big cut at running back. It's tough because I could do Spears with Ridley and then, try to target Cam Ward. Tootin is always a great swing for a running back 4, but we could also keep a light on for Trey Benson, who makes a ton of sense now on a Kyler team. So that is not perfect there. I do think getting a wide receiver or a tight end here is probably the prudent thing to do. I rarely get Tucker Kraft. Let's do Tucker Kraft here. Maybe Jordan Love falls. We have Derrick Henry opposite there. And then Tucker Kraft just opens up Love and week 17 correlation off of Derrick Henry. Would have been nice, obviously, I think in retrospect, to probably have Jacobs there as far as building out the a Love stack potentially. I think Easy mentioned that in the chat earlier, is one of the benefits of going Jacobs is the Green Bay bet pairs well with a back stack. But let's get a share of Tucker Kraft here. And this does put us in position too, where this could be a two tight end build with TJ Hawkinson, Tucker Kraft. We know we're going to want to load up on wide receivers. We know we're going to want to load up on 3 quarterbacks in this build. So that'll give us a little flexibility there as far as that later pick. And then I guess the choice here is going to be, would we grab Jordan Love or would we grab Trey Benson with this pick, knowing we're probably only going to be able to get one of them? So here's the team so far. This has been a wild room. Probably one of the weirder, more wild rooms we've had on Best Ball Breakfast. Barkley, Henry, Chase Brown. Then we go DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakur. Grab TJ Hawkinson in the 8th. Come back, grab Keon Coleman as our wide receiver 5. Kyler then falls. We are back on the clock. So Jordan Love goes. So that makes that easy. Let's get Trey Benson here. We kind of have already said we have limited options for a Cardinals back stack. This is likely going to be our last running back. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but structurally having those 3 early and then Trey Benson as kind of the mega contingent upside bet that also correlates with our quarterback, I think makes sense there. And it's kind of why I wanted to be patient with that 4th running back, because I was tempted to do it with Aaron Jones, but I think the correlated Benson there was worth the wait. I like this note. Feels like a good team to take Keenan Allen late and pray he signs with Arizona. Keenan Allen has been one of the players, wide receivers that's on the menu for me late. I kind of define it as, and I think I might have talked about it on a previous Best Ball Breakfast, that there's just not that many wide receivers late that I'm willing to take unstacked, right? Or uncorrelated. Keenan's one of them. De'Ami Brown is one of them. Jalen Coker is one of them. There's a few of these guys that I'm like, if I'm trying to build out a wide receiver room, I feel good about them to the point where I don't even necessarily need the additional correlation. But in general, it is very hard to find those pieces late. Man, some nice tight end fallers here. Jake Ferguson. I feel like Jake Ferguson is just a smash in this range, but we do not need a tight end here. I think what we should probably do, I don't want to play too fast and loose with quarterback. I think Cam Ward is pretty important for this team at this point. This is a little bit of a reach here. but there really isn't a lot going on at other points in this draft here. It's basically running backs and quarterbacks anyways. So we might as well get the piece that means the most for this team, which is Cam Ward stacked up with Calvin Ridley. The nice thing about Cam Ward too on wide receiver needy teams is Tyler Lockett becomes a very nice option, as does Io Minor. So a good backstacking candidate, and he could also push us to Chig as a tight end 3. But a little bit of a reach there on Ward, 13 picks ahead of ADP. But I don't really view him that much differently than this Stafford, Geno, Michael Penix, this kind of big tier. It feels pretty flat and amorphous to me. So let's just grab our guy. Pat Bryant goes 154. He could have been a guy I consider taking over Cam Ward there just to get some more wide receiver upside. But I think we'll have some darts that we can take here. So we got a 2-4-5-2, and we're cruising along, trying to catch up at wide receiver. No way you'd ever stop at 3 running backs. I would. The problem is with stopping at 3 is that there's going to be so many picks or so many rounds where the best available pick is a running back. When you're looking at the other available options. So I don't want to just blindly shut myself off to a position to take a worse player, essentially. And so knowing that, I know I'm almost for sure going to get to a 4th running back there. In the Trey Benson pick was the perfect instance because there aren't that many stacking options for Kyler. That ends up becoming a key piece of that. But yeah, I think draft capital wise, we've seen it. You can definitely do a 3 running back build if you hit the nuts on those. Any ideas when Underdog will pay out their $50 promo for entering those 16 drafts last week? I do not know that. I did not personally complete the promo because I haven't been doing slow drafts, but I would think relatively soon. If I will check and see if I can find any information on that for you. Let's see here. We could take Jack Besh for the bit. Jalen McMillan has some buy. This seems like a Wan'Dale Robinson or Demario Douglas. Let's do Demario Douglas. We have a lot of correlations here with Demario Douglas. Plays Buffalo week 15, Baltimore week 16. Trying to kind of mix up my exposure to the Demario and Wan'Dale types here. And Demario Douglas, certainly the type of player that makes sense on a wide receiver needy team. We are going to need to find a rookie upside shot here today. We're drafting all the boring wide receivers. All right, there you go. Word on the street is today you should be getting your $50 bonus cash for that promotion, and you can file all complaints to easydfs.xyz or whatever when that does not hit your account. Jordan James? Where's this Jordan James love coming from? I don't have anything involving San Francisco. I'm done at running back. I have nothing with Chicago opposite San Francisco. Is this just a lone piece of hype for Jordan James? There might be drafts where I will entertain a Jordan James. I do not think this is one of them. I don't think this is one of them. I think here we are at a 2-4-6-2. And we got some tight ends falling here. In most instances, I would take Jalen McMillan here. I think this is a pretty good price for him at 174, but I have nothing with Tampa. I have nothing with Miami. I think I'm going to grab Michael Wilson here, provided Wally does not take him. I think this, seriously, Wally? Why? That was such a dumb snipe. I'm tilted. Let's grab Aaron Rodgers. It'd be done at quarterback. I want to get Rodgers with Cam Ward there. And I don't really care about the prices at this point there. We could also do something with like a Calvin Austin. We now have these dust ball wide receivers. I'm just amazed at this. Why Michael Wilson here for you, Wally? Why did you do that to me? Normally, like the Michael Wilson drafter, it's like you either have Kyler or he's by far the best available by ADP, but no one willingly clicks an unstacked Michael Wilson ahead of ADP. That felt personal, Wally. That felt personal. Whatever. I'm over it. I'm not drafting Greg Dortch. Everybody chill out. I am a stack slappy, but up to a point. And Greg Dortch is firmly behind the line I will not cross. So we have 3 more picks here, 16, 17, 18. We are good at quarterback and running back. I think because like the stacking partners are probably going to push me to a third tight end. I think we're probably looking at like a 3-4-8-2 here. 2 more wide receivers, 2 more tight ends, but I think we could certainly justify getting to 9 wide receivers. If there's a 5th running back we really like, I think that would be fine. But I think just building out more wide receiver firepower makes sense. It would be nice to get a little bit of wide receiver upside. I probably should take like an Io Manor on this team. I guess I'm just debating, do I do the Chig thing? Do I do Chig and 2 more wide receivers, or do I try to go 3? I have not taken Calvin Austin, but if I'm gonna do the goddamn Aaron Rodgers thing, let's do the goddamn Aaron Rodgers thing. Calvin Austin was like the Cavante Turpin for me on the Steelers, where I kept chasing him in the pick'ems. He would always have like longest catch higher than like 29 yards. I'm like, oh, Calvin Austin's definitely gonna catch a bomb here. Let's do it. Let's lean into the skid. It's like once you welcome Aaron Rodgers into your home, you have to welcome all of it, all of the baggage. Once I welcome Aaron Rodgers onto my team, well, now we're in it. We're in it, and that involves Calvin Austin as well. Someone is going to have to take the top off the defense while Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith run 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, right? Right? Paul is embarrassed by how much Calvin Austin I have. All right. That makes me feel good. I don't know if you're a good drafter or not, Paul. I know nothing about whether this is offering me signal or noise, but at least I know I'm not alone. And sometimes in this dark, scary world, that's all that matters, is knowing that there's someone else out there doing something similar to you. Have I drafted any Roman Wilson? I want to say there was like some draft. Maybe we did it on off and on the clock. I honestly don't hate the Roman Wilson thing. I'll make a confession. In my mind, I have such a hard time distinguishing between Roman Wilson and Jermaine Burton, and one of them has way more issues than the other. And apologies to Roman Wilson, but I conflate those two in my head so much of the time. Roman Wilson, the knock on him was last year, the beat reporters wouldn't even acknowledge his existence. They didn't even want to act like he existed. Whereas the Bengals beat reporters were like, Jermaine Burton was out until 5 a.m. playing slots and might have been on various narcotics. Like that was the Jermaine Burton news, which is unfair to Roman Wilson for me to lump him in. I'm just being honest and saying those two guys have essentially been the same guy in my head. I think we do. Let's see here. I think we go with the 3rd tight end here if Chig is here. Although Wally, by all means, take Chigakonkwo here. Wally, take Chigakonkwo. You did Michael Wilson. Do it for the bit, Wally. Take Chigakonkwo. Bleeding the clock down. Oh, you take Theo Johnson. You didn't want to take Chigakonkwo? All right. We'll take Chig. We'll take Chig as our 3rd. Unless we think we need to get to... What do you guys like better? Lockett, Io Manor, or Chig, Io Manor? I have too many dusty vets on this team. I don't need to do Lockett. Let's do Chig, and then we'll do Io Manor or whatever is available. I've already drafted 9 Tyler Lockett's on this team. I don't think I need a 10th. Is this, man, I will say, I see you chat about Restrepo. I see you. Is he even, what's his ADP? Is he getting drafted at all? 215.6. I've started to see more and more comments about Restrepo, he does seem like the quintessential. I'm not calling him Puka Nacua. Everybody fucking relax. But I put my head in the sand about the Puka Nacua stuff when it happened. I'm like, I don't know if I'm buying it. And this Restrepo shit feels like the exact kind of guy I would put my head in the sand and being like, this guy was like the slowest motherfucker on planet Earth. I am not drafting this guy. And then all of a sudden he catches, 120 balls as a rookie. I'm just saying Restrepo is the exact kind of guy I would miss on. The exact kind of guy. This team is already impossibly slow, though. Can I really add Xavier Restrepo? I guess Calvin Austin gave me some speed. I guess this is the wide receiver room. DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakur, Keon Coleman, Demario Douglas, Calvin Austin. This is what a wide receiver room looks like when you start hyperfragile. It's like, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. This is what a regular, healthy wide receiver room can look like. This is what a wide receiver room when you start 3 straight running backs looks like. It is crazy how many Titans wide receivers there are to draft. Because some of you guys are talking about DK in the chat too. You got Lockett, Io Manor, Restrepo, and DK. And I do agree. Like, if Cam Ward is Himothy, one or two of these guys is going to be very interesting for fantasy. Because I think there's room for Ridley. I think there's room for Chig. And there's definitely room for a couple of these guys to surprise at their ADP. We're not selecting Tyler Lockett on this team, though. Io Manor goes. So Restrepo has a higher ADP than DK now. What's the coach speak? This is where I break ties. We're on the clock. Let's do it. DK's role, I think we're trying to kind of find everybody's role. I think he can play inside and outside. Damn. What are we going to do? Should we do Restrepo or DK? Who do you guys want? Restrepo? All right. I'll do it. There you go. Fucking Xavier Restrepo. This is where I have to do the thing where you go to Twitter and you need to read something nice about a pick you just made. You just need a little dose of confirmation bias. This is the best, though. You look after drafting him instead of before. Oh, my God. It is never a good sign when I am in better shape than the wide receiver I just drafted. That is concerning to me. That I look better with my shirt off than the player I just drafted who's in the National Football League. I'm not going to lie. That's a red flag for me, guys. Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo at the University of Miami yesterday. Someone named My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football. What a name for a handle. My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football. Xavier Restrepo, first rookie wide receiver to come out of drills at rookie camp. I don't know if that means anything. Cam Ward lobbied for his boy after going undrafted for a slow 40 time. Miami Hurricanes connection is always something to like. That's what I forgot. It's the shower narrative. It's the showered narrative. Tom says Pudgy with frosted tips does not scream NFL superstar. Again, I am not calling him Puka Nacua, but I will say Puka Nacua did not look like an NFL superstar to me either. I judged that book by the wrong cover. A 5'10", 209 pound Xavier Restrepo ran a 4.8340. Bro, what are you doing? 4.83. Oh, my goodness. You guys just had me draft this dude. This guy better be the most fantastic target earner of all time. All right, let's get back to bull posting. Xavier Restrepo passed every Miami legend in the record books. Michael Irvin, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Santana Moss. I love how I'm getting threaded here. And here's why that's wild. Well, it's wild because he runs a 4.83. That's why it's wild, sir. But tell me else why it's wild. He finished with 200 receptions, 2,844 yards, 21 TDs, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, Biletnikoff semifinalist, consensus first-team All-American, and he still didn't hear his name called on draft weekend. Why is that? Number one, 4.83, Restrepo's 48-yard dash. He was hurt, pulled his hamstring before the run. In training, he had been consistently hitting 4.53 to 4.58. All right. The Titans didn't care. They signed. It says the Titans didn't care. They did care. They had 7 opportunities to draft him, and they drafted someone named Shimmery DK before him. So they did care. He'll have to battle for a roster spot for fantasy. He's a free dart throw in best ball and dynasty. Boy, was he free. All right. There you go. Thank you, elite_drafters. What do we have? Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo pitching and catching in Miami before training camp in Tennessee later this month. Let's see how he looks. Looks great. Feel better. I feel better already. Oh, let's see. Oh, you got to get behind the paywall from Harmon to see the Restrepo charts. Do we have a Restrepo chart in here? Oh, these are here. No. All right, we have to pay for the Restrepo charts. Go support Matt Harmon. Check out the Restrepo charts. Call me crazy, but I like drafting players who also got drafted. That is, yeah, I mean, you're going to go out on a limb with that take. You're going to go on a limb with that take. All right, let's go recap this full team. This is what I'll say. I appreciate whoever took Alec Iomanor and forced us into this highly scientific deep dive on Xavier Restrepo. This was draft number 59 for me. And this was a throwback, classic, quintessential best ball breakfast room. And if I drafted this team last year, I win all the money. The problem is it is 2025 and not 2024. So we will see if this works again. But a 3-4-8-3, what are we going to call this? Tennessee Pitt. I think the only thing, God damn it, I went to name this whole draft and then it didn't save properly. I think the one snipe that hurt the most was like Michael Wilson. It's like I get Kyler Murray at a value. All I wanted was Trey Benson and Michael Wilson. And Wally or whatever their name is just had to have Michael Wilson. I still don't know why. I'll never know. And Wally, if you're watching, don't tell me. I don't want to know. The reason will just make me even more frustrated. Anyways, here's the team. Kyler Murray, Cam Ward, Aaron Rodgers. 4 running backs. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, and Trey Benson. Wide receivers, 8 of them. DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Khalil Shakur, Keon Coleman, Demario Douglas, Calvin Austin, and Xavier Restrepo. 3 tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, Tucker Kraft, Chigakonkwo. All right, let's talk about the good. The good is, I think structurally, this team worked out well. We scooped up a lot of values. Kyler Murray at pick 115, that's a big AU. The Barkley-Henry combo there, pick 6 and 19, has to be very unique. I was able to get a lot of wide receiver targets at decent cost, despite it being a wide receiver heavy room. That string of Metcalf, Ridley, Jeudy, and Shakir felt very good. The Hawkinson, Kraft, Chig, that's a very strong tight end room. I think the only thing that stinks is, one, missing out on Michael Wilson. It would have been nice to get a little bit more there with Kyler, and then not getting one fun, rookie wide receiver upside swing. Missed Jaden Higgins by a couple picks, prioritized Cam Ward over Pat Bryant, didn't get my guy, Jalen Knoll. But we do get Restrepo. 2 rookies, Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo. So I don't know. It was, I'm glad we went for it. I'm glad we took the plunge and went for the hyper fragile build. Maybe should have prioritized a little bit more wide receiver upside late though. All right, Chad. I don't mind the Restrepo click. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's fun. Chad says Restrepo is so fun. He is something. I don't know if he's fun. Maybe he is. Maybe I need to just open up my third eye and see the big ball of fun that Xavier Restrepo is. We got T-Bear stamp of approval. That's how you know we're cooking. That's how you know we're cooking here. Greg, why do you think you needed that third tight end? I did not need that third tight end. I feel I'm going to start sounding like a Dr. Seuss book. I did not think I needed that third tight end. The third tight end was simply nice to have. We were done at quarterback. We were done at running back. And the wide receiver option, it was basically, do I want Lockett or do I want Chig? And I preferred Chig on this team. I think Chig has a better chance of being part of the Cam Ward rising tide. I think you maybe could have sold me on something like Restrepo and Isle Minor. I would have been open to that. But I want to reject this idea of, I hear it constantly of like, why did you need a fourth running back? Why did you need a third tight? You don't need anything, right? A lot of the way drafts are playing out this year is you get to the point at the end of the draft where you are good at your allocation positionally. There is nothing you're behind at. There is nothing you need to throw quantity at because of your lack of quality. That's why we call them luxury picks. And then it's sometimes like, all right, I'm going to take Anthony Richardson, even though I have two decent quarterbacks, or I'm going to take the third tight end because it's correlated. And so to me, when I'm thinking about the luxury picks, I'm then starting to say, who is the best player? And more specifically, who's the best player for this team? Who's correlated? Who makes sense with the bet I've already made? And in this instance, I felt better about Chig with a Cam Ward bet than I did doubling it up. But I do think I could have done Isle Minor and Restrepo, but Restrepo was not on my radar until he was forced to be on my radar. I was not thinking enough through the long game of how do I reverse engineer the final Xavier Restrepo click. I'm just not there yet. I realize all of you guys have been grinding Xavier Restrepo's tape and are already sold, but I am not there yet on July 7th. I was forced to get there as of about 8 minutes ago. I need more coffee though. We're going to have Karain swinging by here in a few minutes. We should check in on the JGFC team and see how it turned out. Stop. You must not hop on Restrepo. Don't worry. You can, get mad at other streamers for making Xavier Restrepo no longer your little secret. It will not be me. I am not heading to Twitter to post a short about why Xavier Restrepo is the guy you need in 2025. Your little secret is safe with me, Restrepo heads. Okay. Let's see JJFC's team. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Go 6 running backs, so a 0 RB team. Etienne, Najee, Garendo, Roshan, Keaton Mitchell, Kyle Monangai. Pretty 0 RB-ish there, but you get Etienne and Najee up top. 6 wide receivers, Chase, Adams, Worthy, Reed, Shaheed, Allen. Pretty thin there, but the 5 up top, and then Allen is the 6th. 3 tight ends, Tyler Warren, Isaiah Likely, Gesicki. Yeah, I mean, my comments on this team are if you switch one of the quarterbacks to a wide receiver or running back, I probably like it a lot more. I do think the third one is overkill. It is a bummer, right? And this is one of the things where this is actually a good example, right? Because my guess is JJFC was not planning on having Burrow available to him at pick 73, right? This is the age-old question. When you take Jamar Chase, you generally assume that the T. Higgins drafter is going to take Chase, right? Or sorry, is going to take Burrow. So T. Higgins drafter at 22 passes on Burrow twice. There, passes on him in the 6th round, coming all the way around. You just normally do not see that. This drafter. So all of a sudden, JGFC wakes up and says, I've already done 2 elite quarterbacks. Shit, now Burrow's here. Here's what I'd say. I think you do pass on Burrow at that point. However, this is the same thing I was talking about with my hyper fragile build. When you go ham at a position early, you box yourself out of that flexibility late. So if you go Josh Allen, the reason I don't want to take Hurts is because it prevents me from a surprise at quarterback like Joe Burrow. It didn't prevent JGFC. I would argue it made his team worse in doing that, but I want to keep that option available. In the earlier you shut that door, then you're essentially closing off an entire position for you for the rest of the draft. And that's what I don't want to do. especially if I think there are going to be values. In my case, I thought there would be some running back values, and it ended up being very nice that I preserved that, because otherwise I would have had no correlation with Kyler here at that spot, because I would have not been able to do a running back in Trey Benson, and I would have gotten sniped on Michael Wilson. So that is, to me, the downside of extreme structures. It's not that they can't work if you don't allocate your positional capital correctly. And if people are new around here, I do really think the best way to think about it is quantity or quality, not both. If you have high quality at a position like I did running back, I don't need a high quantity of running backs. If I have low quality, like I did at wide receiver, then I need a higher quantity of them. And if you just keep that sliding scale in your head, I think it will kind of help drive decision-making throughout the draft. This is actually a good point. I did not think of this as I was trying to game that out, but Trevor says the Higgins drafter maybe didn't take Burrow at 70 because JGFC already had 2 QBs. That makes sense. That drafter is looking at JGFC saying, hey, I bet I can take Matthew Golden here instead, or sorry, take Ricky Pearsall here instead, push Joe Burrow around and be able to get Burrow. Not realizing JGFC was going to pull the trigger there. So that was actually probably pretty good game theory by Tubins to push it there, because I think in most instances, someone who started with Allen and Hurts isn't going to do that. So that makes sense to me why they thought they could get a little more greedy. I guess the only counter, though, would be, what is the difference? You know, Ricky Pearsall goes at 70. You still have Golden, Downs, all of these guys, like Buka. Is it worth risking it when the Chase drafter is behind you? Hard to say. Hard to say. Okay. Tim D says, yes, love the Jeopardy show. If you guys missed that, over on the Fans Speak YouTube channel, they have a very fun premise for a show. It's called Best Ball Jeopardy, exactly like it sounds. Different categories, very well produced, well thought out. Had a ton of fun going against Neil Orfield. There was one category that I was absolutely awful at, bye-week math. I do not have any of the bye weeks memorized, and I am not particularly good at math, so that was a disaster for me. But there was a bunch that were ADPs focused, and I did well with those. I beat Neil there, and I believe I'm going to be moving on to the semifinals if I can figure out a way to schedule. But yes, that was very fun. Check out that show. I linked to it in my newsletter, which, by the way, I always forget to mention this. I have my own personal newsletter. It's completely free. It drops in your inbox on Fridays. And I do a roundup of all the different shows I did throughout the week. Generally write a little thing up at the top, stuff that was on my mind. This week I was talking about Alex Honnold, the free soloist, and the Bear. But then I link to all my content, and there's a link here to the Jeopardy guest spot. So I'll drop the link in the chat. Would love it if you subscribe. And it's an easy way to stay on top of everything I'm doing. All right. I will not forget the intro now that my guest is here. Let's get ready for Pat Kerrane. Scuba Kerrane, Patty Millions, Peacock Pat.
Pat Kerrane on the 1s and 2s.
Are you kidding me? Kadarius Toney?
98 yards to the fucking house against Carolina in week 10.
All right. Pat, how was your 4th of July weekend?
It was good. How's yours?
It was good. Down on the Cape, got some very nice weather for the beach, so that was good. What did you guys do?
Just hung around the city. Went out to dinner a couple times. Just nothing too big, but watched the fireworks. My parents were in town on Friday, and went down, saw them. They were framed by the Brooklyn Bridge. Very nice.
Very nice. Well, Pat, we were just had a wild draft there, Best Ball Breakfast. It was one of the classic, everyone's going wide receiver heavy. I started Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Chase Brown for my draft. I went for it. Full high T. That's what we're dealing with. I don't know what we're going to end up dealing with today, but just letting you know, that's what's in the water this morning on Best Ball Breakfast.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. How did you land the plane?
I thought pretty decently. I I should say decently, although it involved a Twitter deep dive on Xavier Restrepo. So maybe it didn't go that well.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I actually like it. It was a Cam Ward team, and then we're trying to figure out which rookie to take late. The chat. Have you heard the buzz on Restrepo? Because people were really into me selecting Restrepo.
I've heard that. Yeah, I mean, I think from my feeling is that he'll make the team. But
I hope so.
yeah, I mean, the thing with Restrepo is like there is a chance that the 40 time was just some kind of weird injury thing, and that he's not fast, but like you're hoping he's Hunter Renfrow, right? Which doesn't sound great, but Hunter Renfrow actually had one pretty nice season, something you'd be very happy with in the 18th round. And then I do think it's important that he landed with Cam Ward. Like he was basically like zero to do anything unless he landed with Cam Ward. But him being there, Ward trusts him. There's not many receivers that really have like locked in roles on that team. So I don't know. I wouldn't be taking him really, but I'm not like far from taking him. I need like a little bit more solidified hype, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at as well. But yeah, because it is like a thing. Like you look at the wide receivers, and after Ridley, it's like it's completely wide open. Lockett, Almanor, DK, who got better draft capital, and then Restrepo. And it's like, I was talking it through. It's like
it's not hard to get better draft capital than Restrepo, Pete.
No, I mean DK.
Any draft capital will do.
I beat DK over Almanor though. He had better draft capital there. But yes. Anyways, we've talked enough about the.
Whoa! Look at these circles. Okay,
that's for a different show. Don't get so excited, buddy. All right, here we go. We're off to the races. We got the 1-3 here, Pat. Draft number 60. Have you been drafting of late, or you just been living the good life?
I did some drafts over the weekend. I didn't draft yesterday or today. So, but I did a draft Saturday night.
Nice. All right, 1-3 here. This has been kind of the choose your own adventure in some of these rooms. After Chase goes, it's just shuffled up a ton. Like I said, I just got Barkley at 1-6 in the first draft. Who do you think is the target at 1-3 in a perfect world?
I don't know. I mean, normally I would take Barkley here, but I guess I'm worried about, Derrick Henry and Chase Brown to pair with him. So if you want to go, if this is just like a wide receiver ass room, I would be fine going CD.
Yeah, it does look like a pretty good mix of friends and family. I tried to tip you guys off in the Discord.
Okay,
Jefferson falls to 3.
Nice.
There you go.
That's
all right.
That's helpful.
Maybe we'll get a different flavor. I do, for those of you who are YouTube members, you get access to the Best Ball Breakfast channel in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, and I will use the alerts when I hop in. If there are spaces available, I let you know. When I entered this one, it's snap filled. So either people are getting good at anticipating when I'm entering a draft, or this room was already naturally close to being filled. But yes, feels a little bit better to get Justin Jefferson here at the top.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I will. I'll download the updated leg up ranks. Any changes that you guys have been tweaking with over the past week or so?
Trying to think if there's anything big. I don't think we've done anything major in the last. I mean, we obviously had to account for all the Steelers stuff,
right?
So that dialing all of that in. I have taken some Jonnu and Freiermuth at this point. Some of that was in Superflex, where tight end is a little bit more valuable. I was trying to squeeze out some of the. I got to about 50 of the Superflex drafts, having not really done many before. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously, shaking things up a bit.
Yeah, and like just pulling up Steelers here, and with your guys' ranks, you guys are now pretty well ahead on Rodgers. Looks like you guys are still behind ADP on Jonnu, but that's just the natural lag.
That's just the way it's going to be. Yeah.
Yep. And then right on cue with Freiermuth. And then where did you guys end up here on the Dolphins and Waller? Because that was breaking live while we were on air here. Do you guys not have Waller ranked?
We should have Waller ranked.
Okay, I didn't
I'll check
see
on that.
Okay, I didn't
I'll check
see
on that.
Let's see here. Yeah, he's there. I don't know why he didn't show up in this when I uploaded the CSV.
Waller, we were kind of there was a good debate on Waller because
It's because he's not. He
he's
still
not
doesn't
listed
have
by
the
Underdog.
Dolphins tight end system. He's a free agent or whatever. There you
go. Yeah, there's like a little bit. Like Kyle was kind of pushing back in a good way on Waller's floor, maybe being lower than we were talking about on ADP chasing. Just like looking at some of the former fantasy greats and just how awful their careers ended. Like Jimmy Graham, basically just being there to catch touchdowns that one year, or Jason Witten in his final season was nothing. So there is some risk. I guess we'll get a better sense in training camp, but as of right now, it's possible Waller's like, a mascot as those guys kind of finish their careers.
We're on the clock. McBride, Rashi, Jacobs, Garrett Wilson. I'm always down to get some more McBride. If you want to pound the table for Rashi, I'm good with that.
If we're going to try to get both, I do think we have a better chance of going Rashi McBride.
Okay.
The ADP gap is reasonably big here, and Rashi's just not coming back around in my experience.
No, he is. I mean, he in my first draft, part of the reason I got Derrick Henry at pick 19 was because Rashi went pick 17. So like he continues to scream upwards there.
And McBride will come back in the third. So that'd be nice to get both. McBride's a great pick.
Yeah. The chat saying, I just don't get what you win with Waller, even if he's not totally washed. It's funny because we kind of had this conversation because we drafted a high stakes main event team on FFPC, which people famously forget is tight end premium. And he's a much easier selling point in tight end premium, obviously, but in managed, where it's like, if he sucks, boom, cut him, move on. But if he vacates this role, the Jonnu role, or even gives you 60, 70% of it, where we got him like the 16th round of a managed league, like that's an awesome take a peek type of play.
Totally.
But yeah, I'm struggling with it in best ball right now. Garrett Wilson comes back, which is nice. Anything else you see?
No, I'm into that, especially in this room. Like, McBride and Rashi is a little different because you're still getting the pass catcher with the tight end. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little nervous about your 3x running back start. I like getting the receivers while they're here.
It's not for the faint of heart. Here, I'll show you how the team ended up, and you give your honest assessment minus the Restrepo joke. And part of what I was talking through is that, remember in previous years when you'd have the avalanche, you'd be having to reach like 10 picks ahead of ADP to catch up. This year you can catch up at cost. So it was Kyler, Cam Ward, Rodgers, Barkley, Henry, Chase Brown, Trey Benson, but I get Metcalf at ADP, Ridley at ADP, Judy at ADP, Khalil Shakur at ADP, Coleman, Demario Douglas, and then Calvin Austin with Rodgers and Metcalf.
Honestly, yeah. I think you pulled it off. What'd you do with tight end?
Tight end, Hawkinson, Kraft, and Shig.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that just feels different to me, because I just remember some of those rooms where if you pulled that off, you're taking Michael Pittman at 20 picks ahead of ADP, and you're like, fuck, this sucks. Whereas this year I'm like, do you love the team? Like, I missed out on some fun high upside rookie wide receiver options, definitely. But like structurally, I don't think you're as far behind as you otherwise would have been.
Yeah. I mean, to get like Metcalf and Ridley there, who aren't that exciting, but are just like clearly going to be the number one targets on their team, Yeah. And then you kind of filled it out with some dudes, Judy, Shakir. Those are solid enough guys.
And it's also like, I'm not going to be drafting 150 hyper fragile teams. I'm not even going to be drafting probably 10 of them. I'm probably going to end up having like 3 to 4 of those across my Best Ball Mania portfolio.
Right. Yeah, I honestly like it.
There you go.
I mean, if you're going to do it too, like you do it, you actually got the Barkley Henry. That's going to be pretty rare.
Right. And that's kind of, I wrote that up for Fantasy Life too. And I was like, I don't want to be doing it willy-nilly. I want the room to force me into it. And I'm getting an additional value add for doing it. One, it's like, okay, it's unique for my portfolio, but it's like, oh, the room's going to give me these players at an extreme value. All right, this is my opportunity to push into that direction, knowing I'm not going to do this in a lot of other instances.
Totally.
So in this one, though, we're flipping the script. Classic start for us: Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, and Garrett Wilson. Nothing too crazy in this room so far. Trey McBride does go at the turn. This is a pretty common thing you'll now see: the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey McBride setting up that Cincinnati Arizona stack.
Yeah, that's Fine Four was talking a bit about how they're able to like review some of the teams with the DraftKings stuff, DraftKings released that data, and just the the similarities out of the one hole being pretty striking, because we were already doing this. Like I was already doing. I'll just look how easy it is to stack the Bengals and the Cardinals. I didn't know they played each other.
Yeah. Hampton's here right past ADP. Seems like a great pick.
That's great, man. Yeah. No, I love Hampton. Great fit for the team.
Yes, Hampton here at pick 46. A guy, I'll be curious, like, if he's a guy, I'm trying to think through like how training camp buzz and preseason buzz can go. My guess is he's almost the guy that probably falls a little bit when it's like, oh, Najee's running with the ones, or like Najee's getting the first touch in the preseason game. It almost feels like he's going to be the kind of guy that people like panic on, of like, oh, I'm taking this guy in the late fourth and he's not even getting the first crack, like that kind of shit.
I guess I could see that. I could also see him just being so much better than Najee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren was a UDFA. He's undersized. He's a good runner, but he's not like ultra explosive. He's not that big. I think Hampton's a big tackle breaker, downhill runner. And now there's like a big age gap between these guys. Oh, we're up.
Yeah. Hunter, Pickens, Zay, Ridley. Don't see any like strong correlation. Angle, what do you like?
I'm good with either receiver. Would be where I'm at. If you like Hunter better than Zay, I'm good with that. Zay, I don't really get why Zay's been falling. I've gotten a lot of Zay recently.
Yes, he has been. I think it's kind of like one of those moves where it's nothing about him. It's like we saw Kittle move up. We saw Hurts is now starting to inch up. And then you get the Waddle has now flipped him as well after that. So I think it's just a byproduct of other guys moving, as opposed to people being like specifically down on Zay, who I did end up putting in at the last second there for us.
Yeah, the thing with Zay is, so his efficiency over the last 2 years has been, so he starts his career 1.72 yards per route run. And as a first-round rookie, that's pretty promising. And then last year, he's up to 2.25, second-year wide receiver. And now we've got, like, this is how great receivers, this is how elite receivers start their career. Like, for real. Like CeeDee Lamb had a pretty similar start. He had 1.81 yards per out run, 1.94, and then he jumped to 2.39 in his third season. I think the thing with Zay Flowers that we all feel is like, how is it possible for him to just like be a first, he's going at the 1-2 turn next year. It just seems very implausible with the passing volume. Lamar being an incredible quarterback, but not usually supporting like a true kind of high end wide receiver one. He's really supported a high end tight end one, which is a lower bar. At the same time, doesn't it kind of feel a little bit like Mark Andrews the year he was a league winner, where it's like, hey, this guy's awesome. He's in a pretty good situation, just not a great situation. He's the clear number one on his team now because Andrews has fallen off. I think like we need a couple things to break right for Flowers for him to be like, for him to smash.
Yeah.
But you get a decent floor here where it's like, this is a really talented young player. And the ceiling is what we're kind of like, you got to squint a little bit, but it's a chaotic game. We could see if the defense falls apart like it did in Andrew's amazing season. He got there with Snoop Huntley. So it's like Lamar stays healthy and the defense takes a step back. We could look at him in the 5th as being kind of crazy.
For sure. And he's the exact kind of guy We talk a lot about like the wide receiver 2 types, the Waddle, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, where the year they're sun running touchdowns or whatever, you pay the second round price. In the year that they're kind of running poor on touchdowns, then they're back in the 5th or 6th round. And Zay to me kind of fits that thing where his talent is being underrated and the situation is being overrated. And all you need is a slight shift in either touchdowns or the defense not being as good. And all of a sudden you unlock much, much higher value.
Totally.
All right, let's see here. I don't think Burrow makes sense for us. We got Judkins. The sidekick likes Laporta. Jacoby here likes the running backs and Laporta. What do you think?
I'm into honestly, I'd probably be most into Judkins. I just take a bunch of Judkins, but it's to the level where maybe I'm not being prudent because
what is
I
your
guess
bullishness on Judkins?
I think the draft capital gap between him and Samson is enough, and he was kind of taken to be the guy, where Samson's probably more like Samson is an early down runner as well, and more of an undersized one. And Judkins, I think, was drafted to be like the workhorse. But I might be a little bit more Judkins pilled than the rankings team, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing that's hard for me too is, man, I really like Dylan Sampson right now as a late round pick. And again, not that I want to be overconfident in one direction or the other, but that is an angle there. And also I like Caleb Johnson a lot.
Let's do it
here. We do get they play each other in week 17, but you want to go do a all rookie running back start
all
here?
rookies. Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of similar to the team we drafted a few weeks ago where we started 3 wide receivers early. Do you remember this team? And then we hammered running back in this like dead zone area. Yeah, here it is. We did Omarion, Chuba, James Conner, Judkins.
Nice.
After starting Lamb, Ladd, Marv. And it's kind of similar what we're doing here where we start Jefferson, Rashi, Wilson. Obviously we grab Zay, but then Hampton, Judkins, and Caleb.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the running back room kind of rounds out from here. Montgomery would have been interesting. He went the pick before
to pair with the rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the thing is, right? Like when you draft Hampton, Judkins, Caleb, you are acknowledging that there's a chance a couple of these guys get off to slow starts. But like in the reality of this team, you're saying like one of these guys is just like a full-blown bell cow off the rip kind of thing, right? Like that's kind of the appeal too, is that these depth charts, especially the, Cleveland and Pittsburgh one, they're ripe for the taking for 15 plus touches right out of the gate.
Totally.
But it might tilt us in some different directions. Like this would be an awesome team to target J.K. Dobbins. This would be a good team to target Austin Eckler, like just building in a little bit of, texture and humility there.
Yeah, no, I think we can like build this team with the assumption that it doesn't have a lot of early season running back points. And then if we get them, we're just like cruising to advancing. You know what I mean? Like, and then the prices that we're going to pay on the early season running backs, I don't think will be outrageous either. So, and there's certain guys, like a Dobbins, I think might not just be early season.
Right.
There's a few of those guys. So,
and that's why the thing cuts both ways, right? It's like you get these, your Eckler Dobbins types, and it's like they could hold on to a role for the whole season, or you draft these rookies who you're basing or counting on back-loaded production, but they could also be fast start guys. And you're kind of trying to balance those two things.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. So Mahomes goes, so we don't have to have that conversation with Rashi. Hawkinson goes as well. This is really interesting how the sidekick still has running backs up here. I guess it makes sense. We're at 3 and 4. You could definitely go in either direction. The ranks have Kupp in Higgins, though.
Yeah, but I also think, look at the room that we have. Mason and Warren both fit the room nicely. Mason gives you some of that more immediate production. Warren locks up the Steelers' backfield. So I think I like Mason here.
Me too.
To kind of build on that Vikings bet. And then we kind of want. My preference would be that Caleb just takes the job on this team as opposed to trying to grab the whole backfield. So Mason really fits nicely with these rookies. I don't know if you saw Crack Rock just had a scoop. The scoops are getting a little less scoopy, I have to say. I'm not sure. Pull it up because I don't know that it's really a scoop as so much as he might have read The Athletic.
I'm not logged in there. Let me see.
His scoop was that Jordan Mason was going to be their goal line back, which has been reported openly for months.
Okay. All right. In that case, I am not going to go back to look at that. 1 sec. Okay. So at pick 99 here, Fields stacked up with Wilson makes a ton of sense. Unless we want to like do the phantom stack with Kelsey and Rashi or go Warren. But I think at this point, like going non-running back probably makes sense.
Yeah, I like Fields here.
Yeah.
Fields is very fun. Because Fields gives you some of that, at least from a weekly base. You don't get the floor that like, Hurts is going to give you week to week or Lamar or whatever. But I think you get some of that ceiling where when Fields puts it together, he can combine the rushing and the passing for some big spike weeks.
Yeah, and I like, every quarterback and their wide receivers, maybe outside of Anthony Richardson, have a pretty strong correlation in the very intuitive, play-by-play sense. But I do like the Fields-Wilson correlation even more than most traditional ones, because when you bake in both of their like individual talents and what we know that they can do in isolated ceiling scenarios, if it comes together for both of them, it could just be an uber explosion. The flip side is that it could also be an uber disaster. However, that's the exact kind of correlated bet I want to make in best ball.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if it's a disaster, we're already sunk in a lot of ways,
Yes.
You don't want your third round pick to be a straight up disaster. Here's the Crack Rock scoop.
Okay.
Enjoying golfing. I'm just going to read this exactly how it's written. Enjoying golfing of this 4th of July weekend, I heard a juicy nugget for fans of hashtag#Skull. There is a new full-time goal line back, and his name is Jordan Mason the Vulture. Aaron Jones is going to miss out on 10 touchdowns this season. Goal line package will be a new look for the Vikings, #Skull. In both hashtags, he also put the little Vikings icon.
I love, my favorite part about this is as if this is like intercepted intel and they're actually using the code name the Vulture to reference Jordan Mason, and he has decoded it that the Vulture is Jordan Mason. There's a new full-time back. His name is the Vulture. And using decoding methods, I realize this is Jordan Mason.
There's no punctuation in this, which I like, which I hope to convey as I was reading it. The double hashtag I really enjoy. I mean, I'm not sure what the point of it is, but I like it.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. This is fine. Said he was definitely doing the Wallers while typing that.
Look at this engagement though. 12 retweets, 131 likes. This is my favorite part. 23 bookmarks. It's like, God, I hope I don't. Is this all for people wanting to go back and dunk on him? Or is this people like, I must remember who?
I don't. Bookmarking this tweet is wild. Like, what is the point? I would like to hear from you. If you bookmark this tweet, tell me why.
Oh my goodness. All right. Unfortunately, the cheap wide receiver cheat code of Luther Burden did not come back to us. Here's the team so far. We got Justin Fields at quarterback, the 4 running backs, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, and the Vulture. And then our 4 wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Garrett Wilson, and Zay Flowers. There's the quarterbacks are starting to stack up here. By ADP, you're looking at Ingram. Goff doesn't make sense for us. Ramondre, Dobbins, Tyler Warren. Best available wide receiver, you're in that Kirk, Kyle Williams, Marvin Mims tier.
Yeah, I think Ramondre is fine. Dobbins is kind of the same mold. Tootin was a little I mean, Tootin doesn't fit this team as well.
Mhm.
So I think we play to the room we have, you know?
Yeah, I think in a vacuum, I prefer Dobbins, but when we have the Jets week 17
Right.
correlation, might as well go Ramondre.
That's kind of how I feel.
And this is kind of one of those classic spots of being patient at wide receiver. Probably going to swing over to quarterback here. Although I think you could also make the case to get an upside crack at tight end with Warren and Njoku.
Sure.
The sidekick definitely likes the quarterbacks. I guess Herbert with Omarion versus McCarthy. Oh, Herbert goes. So
Herbert goes.
It might make sense to just lock up the Vultures quarterback.
Yeah, we could also try to push McCarthy.
He's right at ADP.
He's right at ADP. All right, let's just grab McCarthy.
McCarthy just anecdotally to me is not a guy that falls, especially because like the Addison drafter isn't going to let him go twice, you know?
Yep.
Where did Addison go in this room? Pick 67 to the Mahomes team. Yeah, there's just no way he's going to go past 126 and 139. So we got a 2-5-4 in good shape at quarterback, 5 running backs, 4 wide receivers. I guess the thing about both Fields and McCarthy on a weak wide receiver room is there's not a lot to backstack them with at wide receiver.
Yeah, that's why Herbert, I think actually I would have been 4 over McCarthy, even though we just had the running back, because he's pretty backstackable with Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
And then the quarterback running back correlation does seem to be pretty strong.
Yeah.
From a season long perspective, it makes a lot of sense why it would be. But it's definitely something the Sims do enjoy.
Yeah. And that would have been, yeah, I think that would, because basically what it's just QJ is really the other wide receiver. Whereas with McCarthy, I mean, now we're starting to look at like more of a camp battle. It sounds like between Naylor and Felton, which makes either kind of a hard click, I think right now. And then with Fields, I like Mason Taylor, but are you drafting any Jets wide receiver 2s right now?
No, I took Arian Smith in last call on ADP chasing, and then I was made fun of. So yeah, I'm not really in that, and that's a silly game we're playing. That's not even a tournament. Yeah, I don't think we have really anyone else right there. I mean, Lazard might not even be on the team by the time. I really kind of think he'll end up on the Steelers.
I feel like of all the bits that just have to become a reality, it is the Lazard. Like that's the one when people like joke. I'm like, it was even almost like when we were joking about like Arthur Smith's got to get Jonnu Smith, and it's like, well, Aaron Rodgers now has to get Alan Lazard. That feels preordained.
Totally.
So we got our 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 4 wide receivers here. So definitely going to be looking at a 3 tight end room here, most likely, and trying to throw a decent amount of capital at the wide receiver position down the stretch. Tight ends looking good. You guys have some values here. By ADP, we get Javonte slipping, which is no surprise in these rooms. It looks like Goddard, though, should be an awesome selection for us here.
Goddard is awesome for this team, yeah.
Yeah.
We need a tight ends. I don't really get why he goes here. Like,
it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, he's good. He's locked in. Like, he got a new contract with the Eagles. Is 1 year. He'll probably be somewhere else next year. But like, so what? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. The other thing too is like in Leone and Gretsch talked about this on their projection series about the Eagles of like, not only are they concentrated, but another part of that is the additional contingent upside if something happens to any of them. But in this case, to AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, I mean, Goddard's going to project for 10 plus targets a game if one of those guys gets hurt. And so it's like, you're getting a value at like the base level median expectation, I think here, and just absolute windmill slam dunk value in the contingent sense here.
Yeah. And I think he's good. I think they value him, regardless of, like, he was entering the final year of his deal and he's old. So I think Howie Roseman was like, hey, let me see if someone will pay me a pick to take on this new Dallas Goedert contract I don't really want to hand out. But from like the coaches, I think they do. They like he brings an element, brings like a really strong yak element.
We're back on the clock here. We could pull the trigger on a wide receiver, Besh, Palmer, Bryant. Sidekick likes tight ends. What do you think?
I think tight end. Are you pushing us to Besh right now? Is that what you were about to do?
No, I collect tight end. I click the side. I mean, if you're going to give me the option between Jack Besh and the sidekick says Kyle Pitts, you know.
I saw you hover over Jack Besh there.
I've been getting back. I've selected a few times, like, you know, they had the Dachshund contest. I think I got him in like at 165 and stuff. So I'm getting some cheap Besh these days.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is one of those builds where Pat, we have not selected a wide receiver since the 5th round.
That's right. But we got 4 through 5.
And there've been no good wide receivers since the 5th round at our pick.
Kyle Williams almost came back at a nice value. He was definitely someone I had my eye on there to see if he would make it back. And he was right at the top of the sidekick, if not for Goddard, I believe. So, you know, that was definitely intriguing. And then Burden, we took Fields over Burden. I think that made all the sense in the world. But then there's a chance that Burden actually comes back. He doesn't there. So those were the 2 times I was really thinking wide receiver. But neither guy fell to us.
Yep. Yeah, the Burden one there. What do you think about? I guess it's a weird spot because I almost feel like the tight end and wide receivers are in similar position there. Like, is Kyle Pitts, and again, like I'm just talking like tight end in general. Everyone's going to get, you know, Kyle Pitts, bias or whatever. But like that taking a tight end there versus like a Josh Palmer or someone who we know is like a steady wide receiver 5. Like, why do you think the sidekick is pushing the tight end there?
I think it's because you can get someone like that at wide receiver later, but that the tight ends are going to go off. And you see Strange and Henry now coming off, that the tight end is like kind of like it's a pocket and the pocket ends. But the receivers, there's just kind of dudes who you can kind of tack on in a Palmer-esque way for longer. One of those guys who I, would be pretty excited to get. See, so Pat Bryant was we were thinking Pat Bryant, we're thinking Jack Besh. They almost make it back. The tight ends are going off. If Douglas comes back, I mean, he's in some ways, my favorite of the receivers that we had available last round. So, yeah, I think it would be really about kind of what is available later at each position and making sure that you don't push tight end too far and then feel like you don't even have starters. You're just like, or you're like really hoping Jatavion Sanders isn't in a split role with Tommy Tremble.
That makes sense. Yeah. And DeMario at 166 makes sense. And I completely agree with the Palmer thing. I think it is. I mean, there aren't that many rookie upside cracks in this range anyways. It really is like Pat Bryant, Jack Besh, Jalen Knoll, and then you're getting into like super thin bets, I think. So that's kind of the one thing you have to decide. You get your 4 base early where you have, superstar potential, but then it's like being able to find a potential rookie breakout smash it definitely gets harder.
Yeah, that's true. It gets harder to find like the, that really exciting upside at the rookies. But I don't know, this team, like we did start with 3 rookie running backs. So I think true. we have 4 receivers in the first 5. So in some ways it's like, let's fill out receiver depth. And then the running back room could be just absolutely cooking down the stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
Wandell, another kind of type that fits this build.
Yeah. I think one thing we've seen with the Sims too is that the builds do like work across position, so if you have a receiver room like this, that's got 2 slot receivers plus 4 strong receiver picks up top, that room would probably be a decent one to pair with 3 rookie running backs, right? Which like We didn't go chase Besh, and we didn't chase Noel there, although he didn't come back. But it's like a bit more. I think it's kind of coherent across position groups in a way it's harder to think through sometimes. Like the way I think about like, is this a coherent team is often like, does this running back room make sense? Does this receiver room make sense? But I would argue that this receiver room makes more sense with the running back room.
Right, for sure. Yeah, especially like we said, if the running back room's off to a little bit of a slow start, you're going to need a higher floor from some of those back end wide receiver options. Demario Douglas, obviously, correlation, bring back week 17 opposite the Jet stuff. And then a nice thing about Wan'Dale is he also provides some really nice backstack options. It's like you got the quarterbacks, you have Slayton, and you have Theo Johnson if you want to go in the direction of a giant stack.
Yep.
So team so far after those back-to-back wide receiver picks, 2, 5, 6, 2, Fields and McCarthy, both stacked up with their number ones. Got that rookie running back heavy team, Omarion Hampton, Judkins, Caleb Johnson, the Vulture, and Ramondre Stevenson, Jefferson Rice, Garrett Wilson, Flowers, Demario Douglas, Wan'Dale Robinson, and then tight ends, Goddard and Kyle Pitts there at tight end. I've had the conversation about Pitts with Leone here. Any other thoughts on him right now?
What's that conversation been? I haven't caught that yet.
Leone basically just, everyone vomits and groans when you select Kyle Pitts, and Leone just kind of shrugging his shoulders and saying, when you look at our projections and how he hits, if he does hit, like what we're asking of him at this cost is a lot less than what we used to ask of him.
That would be kind of how I feel too. Yeah. It's that like, it's not fun to click Kyle Pitts anymore, but it's because the reason it's not fun is because we used to think it was a lot more fun than it actually was. And so now we know that it's not that fun, and we're scarred by when we used to think it was fun. But he's pretty cheap now. It was also fun to see Penix jumped up near the top of the sidekick after we took this is interesting. It's into Darnold here as a quarterback 3.
We could do Dante Thornton as like a rookie bring back on the Giants stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Or you could do Troy Franklin opposite the Chiefs stuff.
We could always wait on Franklin if we're doing that.
True. Why do you think so? Sidekick unstacked Darnold with no correlation. It's definitely saying it's worried about our quarterback room.
It's just that quarterback 3 is undervalued. That's just what it is. It's that 3 quarterback builds look underutilized relative to like the other available options at this. Like if you think about like Marshawn Lloyd, like is Marshawn Lloyd anything? Sam Darnold is. That's honestly, I think it's just that simple. Is that Darnold is going to add points, and so the sim is just like, hey man, points are the whole point of this game.
So then how would you bully it and be like, hey, I hear you, but it makes more sense for me to go with, say, one of the Giants quarterbacks because I have Wan'Dale Robinson? Or do you say, let me just grab an undervalued Darnold and see if I can make it work with a stack?
I've done both. So I'll take Darnold here sometimes and just take because the other thing is like, we know that ADP value matters. And I know it's not like it doesn't matter so much this late, but it's like, hey, the room's handing you a $1 third quarterback on a team where you didn't take your first quarterback till pick 99. So, and your other quarterbacks have literally never played a snap before. And your first quarterback has this kind of really up and down week to week profile. So you have a chance to just add maybe 3-4 really important quarterback scores over the course of the season.
So what do you like better for this team? Like a Darnold Arroyo or a Jackson Dart Theo?
Let's do Darnold, because I think what Darnold gives you too is starts all year, right? So you're not losing Dart. We don't know when it's happening. And I think this like covers it. There is potential for both of our quarterbacks to be pretty up and down. So McCarthy with some of the volume concerns, and Fields we know puts up stinkers. So this could just be like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think in general, people like in previous years, like a quarterback in round 9 and a quarterback in round 11, you'd be like, yeah, you kind of got two. Rotoviz kind of famously tabbed that the quarterback window there. Then we start to think through, how Best Ball Mania works and the advantages of having 3 stacks and the cheaper quarterback prices this year, pushing a lot more people to 3 quarterback builds. And so when you see the Sims suggesting even an unstacked Darnold, like you said, it's just saying that it's almost saying, it's funny because like it's saying that the value that it brings from like a floor and just helping your overall points is almost even more significant than the 3 separate stacks, because like the Sim is saying you don't even have anything stacked yet and your back stack's going to probably be pretty weak, but the value is even more in a way we're probably not normally thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, one way I would think about it is we do stuff like, you take an uncorrelated dart throw in this range all the time at the other positions. That we don't just like only take correlated dart throws in that range. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe not a dart throw, helps the fill out the room, but like there's plenty of examples where we're just like, hey, this guy's probably gonna help my team, and especially if he spikes in like week 15 or 16 and helps get me to the final, that's massive. And then once in the final, I'm going to be dependent on JJ to JJ or Garrett Wilson to Justin Fields. That's my path for week 17. I don't even know that we need to backstack Darnold. Like, what are the odds that like adding Arroyo is going to beat Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy or Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields in the final? He's really just like he's just like a good pick that adds points. So in the same way that this dude, I'm not that into Keenan Allen, but this guy took Keenan Allen after we took Darnold. Like he's like, I don't know, he's gonna sign somewhere, he's gonna add points. It's I think it's kind of that with Darnold there. It's not even about, it's about advancing the team to week 17 more than anything. Would be how I would interpret it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting takeaway from the Sims that I think a lot of us just intuitively, or how we would draft kind of in a more autopilot mode, would not necessarily get to. So I think it's good to explore that. And now we do face that decision here of, do the non-correlated tight ends project enough to push you off of, trying to stack Darnold with Arroyo? It's suggesting Schultz to get a week 17 bring back, Disley, Theo's also there.
Yeah. So the question now is, does the difference between Schultz and Arroyo, is that small enough to say we want to break to correlation with Darnold? Honestly, I would probably say no. Schultz is a starting tight end. Arroyo, I don't know what Arroyo is. So I would just tend to go Schultz here, who is correlated with Hampton. So you get the bet on that game. You don't have the direct correlation with the quarterback, but as much I was into the Darnold pick there with the 2 quarterbacks that we have, but we're going to need one of those 2 quarterbacks, I think, in week 17 to go nuts. Given the fact that we need Wilson or Jefferson to go nuts, or we're dead.
It'd be interesting. Like I assume the Sims, because obviously we're trying to accomplish multiple things when we draft these teams, right? We want to get out of our pod, which an unstacked Sam Darnold, that is like a clear, I want this team to advance and to have a shot.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to weigh that. I think the correlated angle, stacking him up, or building off of, like, say, the Jackson Dart angle, that's definitely like week 17 is all that matters brain. I know Dart isn't going to be playing for a good chunk of the season, but if I get it there, like, yeah, give me Dart with Wan'Dale over unstacked Sam Darnold. So it's interesting. It seems like the Sims are valuing that advance element more than the week 17 element.
I think they are, in the sense that like Dart isn't starting for all the games this year. He's not going to be the week 1 starter. So it's like the Darnold, it doesn't just bring that, like, he's probably going to project better than Dart for most of the year, but like he's gonna play. So you just have like from the advance rate perspective, you do get that with Darnold. And then I also think like we have our first and third round picks stacked with their quarterbacks. So I think the bar is like a little bit higher on how much we care about like Wandale and Dart in the final. You know what I mean? Like Wandale and Dart in the final is just like not very likely to be our path. Compared to Garrett Wilson and Fields or Justin Jefferson and McCarthy. So, I mean, I've seen plenty of times where, you know, the sidekick recommendation is like, hey, Wandale's a great pick. Hey, Dart's a great pick here too. So it's not like Dart is a week 17 upside edition, you know, isn't recommended. He is. But I think with this room, and again, we talked about kind of coherence across rooms. We have 3 rookie running backs as our first 3 running back picks. So like making sure we're not losing points at quarterback is probably more important for this team than it might be for others.
Yeah. And like someone saying unstack Sam Darnold when unstacked Anthony Richardson is on the board. That's the exact same issue we just talked about with Jackson Dart. The sim is saying that the guaranteed starts are the more valuable thing. It's getting caught up in the unstacked element. Yes. If you were to say in a vacuum, you pick one unstacked quarterback, like which one would you want for more points in week 17? You'd obviously pick Anthony Richardson, but that isn't factoring in one, the context of our team, and two, the entirety of this contest. And I will just say, I'm with you guys. Like I'm struggling getting there mentally, but it also makes sense to me why it's suggesting this.
Yeah. And I think what I would be curious is if we could like swap out our 3 picks for like, instead of Hampton, James Cook, instead of Judkins, you know, Swift,
yeah.
instead of Caleb Johnson, Aaron Jones, you know, and then see, are we all of a sudden getting kind of more week 17, like, hey, actually now that third out at a week 17 stack is actually starting to look better for this team, because what it doesn't have is late season upside. But it's just like hard for me to say that a team with Amari Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Justin Jefferson stacked with McCarthy, Garrett Wilson stacked with Fields doesn't have paths to massive week 17 scores. Like I think this team does have that. We have multiple outs to it as well, stacked outs with the quarterbacks. What it doesn't have is a really strong base of points at running back, especially in the very beginning of the season. And so that's where something like a Darnold versus Dart, I mean, that should be a tiebreaker, right? Like you get the starts, you know, and then we also have quarterbacks who are going to be a little bit spiky probably in how, like, it's not like we have, I mean, I would have said Mahomes, but you know, he's become so much more boring, but you know, it's not like we've got one of these quarterbacks that's just like going to hold down the spot, you know, like a Lamar or an Allen or Hurts, right? Or it's just like week in, week out, that quarterback is just going to be putting up consistently strong points there. So while Fields gives you some of that same ceiling, the floor isn't the same.
I think it's cool too. Like if you think about it, because I think a lot of us, and I can tell the chat too, like very week 17 brained, you know, just all optimizing for that. But kind of another way to maybe word what you're describing, or maybe what the sim is pushing to, it's like, you have your trump card at the top of the draft, like these top 5 or 6 picks. This is your trump card. We're winning with these high level wide receivers and these rookie running backs. And now it's saying, how do you actually give yourself a chance to flip over that trump card in week 17? As opposed to trying to go trump card. It's like, well, how about you just make your trump card and then build around that?
That's exactly right. Because like I've had so many like building my own, and Sacrilegious has talked about we were able, because we you know what the sims, by the way, are that we've simmed out realistic fantasy points for every week of the season. And so then, because there's a question about like balancing stuff, we're not trying to balance like archetypes or anything. It's just like we have realistic scores, so we're trying to add the most points for the team. So, you know, when Sacrilegious took a look at drafted teams, because we have those scores, we can actually look at like, hey, how strong are the teams that have already been drafted? So we looked at my teams, and I had some pretty strong teams. I also had some of the weakest teams where like there were times, and I know why. It's because I'm like, hey, I have this team is like big week 17 pilled. Like it's just a bunch of rookies. I probably got Ayuk on there. You know, it's all late season. It's like, if I get there, then I'm going to win. And it's like, well, you're not though. So I've drafted teams where it's just the answer is I won't be there. And trying to draft fewer of those while also making sure that the ones that do get there have like a clear-cut path to victory, and the upside necessary to achieve it. So I think this is an example of that. Like, I think this team's actually really sick.
For sure. And we got Sack in the chat as well, saying people are not understanding the EV Darnold adds to week 17 as well. And I'm even guilty of that in how I was starting to think through this team, but then jogged my memory last year when I made the video on Deposit Kingdom about why week 16 was more important. There was like this thing that like kind of, made my brain melt as far as like thinking about the EV, the money being paid in week 17, but part of the EV, it's almost like, and I almost need to rewatch my own video to jog my memory, but it's like the EV is getting rolled over. So part of the EV of week 17 comes from the EV of week 16, which comes from week 15, which comes from getting there. And so that EV element, it can't just be fully isolated, because as a wise man once said, you still have to get there, bro, too. So I do think I like that point of like, you have to think about that the EV being baked into some of those other advancement rounds as well.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, like as we were working on developing the sim-driven version of the Sidekick, like this has been consistent. Like the entire time we have been kind of working on stuff, it was just like, hey, quarterbacks score a lot of points and are free. Why don't you take another one? And we know 3 quarterback builds work. There's been other stuff that's looked at 3 quarterback being a bit undervalued. So I think they're just undervalued is honestly what it is. I think the 3rd quarterback's probably just a bit undervalued, and it adds points in the regular season. In this case with Darnold, like he's going to start, and he has some bench risk at the end of the year, but it's not like extraordinarily risky by any means. So he adds value in the playoff weeks as well.
Well, and the other thing to think about, right? When we always talk about like correlation, right? We say correlation is a boost, right? It's a boost to like the baseline projection, but to what extent you're boosting. And I think sometimes we probably boost too much. We get overconfident in how much, or we get fixated on what Jackson Dart's single game projection would be relative to the points he's scoring overall. And like the thing is, right? Let's say Jalen Coker, who you guys like, was on the Seahawks. My guess is the Sidekick would have said, hey, take Jalen Coker with Sam Darnold. Like the projection and the correlation are there. They align in a way that makes sense. But if we're looking at Arroyo's projection, which is probably closer to a 0 than it is a 5, that it's like,
right.
You're just burning a roster spot for, yes, have the boost, take the boost with Darnold and Arroyo, but like the boost is still meaningless relative to the other projections.
It's a little bit like, Spinal Tap, where it's like this one goes to 11, where it's like this guy scores more points. It's like you can do all. It's like, yeah, but this guy's correlated and did it. And it's like, yeah, but this guy scores more points. So there's I've talked to Shady about this too, and there's things where it's like, how does this pick add value to the team? And a lot of times my brain goes to the correlated element of, okay, and now I see the path where these guys are getting there together. They're both going nuts. But another way that a guy can be the right pick for the team is that he's just the guy who's going to score the most points that is available. Right. So, I mean, I think it's like, it is kind of a get back to basics thing a little bit. Now, I would note that although the Sidekick will recommend unstacked quarterbacks, it's like pretty stacking pilled as well. So I think the thing that I've found interesting is that a lot of what we were doing is backed up by the math. It's just that also you can do some things that we didn't really consider viable because it's like, hey, what's the point? What does Darnold do for this team? Well, he might advance the team because Fields and McCarthy are pretty inconsistent quarterbacks this year, as it turns out.
Let's recap the team. We went on I think a very long, interesting tangent there, but let's give the audio listeners some closure on this team. Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, and yes, the controversial Sam Darnold. We have those 5 running backs: Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, the Vulture, and Ramondre Stevenson. Wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, and then Pop Douglas, Wandale, and Dante Thornton. And then 3 tight ends: Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz. Sam Darnold aside, other thoughts on this team?
One more thought on Darnold. It's just Easy had a comment about how once we get to the later rounds, late in the summer, we might also start to see fewer third quarterback recommendations. But here we're really, it's helping us avoid zeros as well. I think that's a good point. Some I've talked about in the past. So I don't know for sure that'll happen, but I think it just makes a lot of sense to me logically that if we start to see it'll be both. It's like the late rounds will just have they'll be less murky. But I also think there's going to be guys in the late rounds where we're just hammering them. And so it's like, yeah. Third quarterback might add some points. That's cool. Let's take the league winner that we think we found, though.
It's also interesting that Sam Darnold has been this topic of conversation. And I'm looking at ADP, and you guys have Rodgers even ahead of this. But the point is Darnold represents the last starter that we can safely project for nearly full season starts. And I'm giving that slight caveat because there's the Milrow Bulls, but then it's like wide open when you get to Jones, Richardson. Maybe someone can argue Shuck, but Dart, Wilson, it's a ton of ambiguity. So it makes sense to me why that would be a tipping point at how we think of the quarterback points available. And then saying hey, yeah, your 2 early quarterbacks are volatile. Get the foundational 17 starts in here or whatever.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. But yeah, other thoughts on this team. I think we've discussed a lot of the elements of it. But anything else that jumps out to you?
Well, so the running back room, I've talked a bunch about how the running back room kind of fits with the other positions, but I like this running back room. We get the 3 running backs, rookies, and then we get Mason and Ramondre. So that's fun. Ramondre is a bring back on the fields, So again, we've got that game stacked up. Mason is tied to JJ and JJ, so that's nice. And then the 3 rookies provide some late season firepower. So this is an extremely week 17 pilled running back room. It's a bring back, a same team stack, and 3 rookies. So we're riffing off of the greatest hits here. We haven't abandoned the core element.
And now to get back to talking about more of the game theory thing, a lot of the discussion we just had reminds me of kind of what happened in DFS this past, say, year and a half, with how the Sims basically illustrated a lot of people, myself included, were galaxy braining too much, had too much fancy play syndrome. This idea of the levers you needed to pull in a lineup to be unique. It was jamming in a lot of chalk. It was jamming in a ton of highly projected points. And then you'd have your one contrarian player, your one contrarian stack, or it was an overstack of a game. But it was in general jamming in more projected safe points than a hand builder was inclined to put into their lineup. And to me, this is kind of a reflection of that. Again, the math reminding us we probably err on the side of getting too cute more often than we do err on the side of being too safe.
Right. Which takes us to Demario Douglas and Wan'Dale Robinson.
who the sidekick actually loves, which then is following an interesting conversation of yes, those guys are probably safer, higher floor picks, but then you start to get into portfolio management conversation of they can become very fragile picks if you have 70% of the one safe player, which is another kind of mind fuck with all of this.
For sure. Although we do have some variance built in. We swear there's variance built in. Well, you see a lot of Demario Douglas, but there is variance built in. So there's a lot of Sims that like Demario Douglas, not all of them.
And maybe it's just that drafters just love drafting so many fucking rookies that eventually you need fucking Pop Douglas.
Here comes Demario.
Yeah. All right. Very good conversation, Pat. You will be back for ADP chasing on Tuesday. We're not going to have ship chasing on Thursday because we're going to actually have a little best ball breakfast reunion IRL. Pat, Leone,
That's
myself
right.
meeting up in New York. But yeah, let people know, in addition to the Sidekick and the Sidekick Sims, what people should be looking out for over at Legendary Upside.
Yeah, still running a 5-day free trial for the Sidekick. So if you're not a subscriber, just head on over legendaryupside.com/sidekick. You can sign up, get 5 days free for the yearly or monthly subscription. If you are a leg up subscriber, hit me up at legendaryupside@gmail.com. I'll get you set up. Make sure that the trial gets added correctly for existing subscribers. That's legendaryupside@gmail.com. We'll have some good articles on the site this week. And yeah, check out the rankings. We've got Underdog, DraftKings, got Eliminator rankings, all that good stuff. LegendaryUpside.com.
Perfect. All right, Crane, we will see you next time on Best Ball Breakfast. Now time for Mr. Mike Leone.
Paul Pezlesny.
You're a psychopath.
Travis Kelsey, alpha play. Jamar, alpha play chase.
Give me rookies or give me death.
All right, Michael Leone, aka Two Hats, One Mike. Welcome back to Best Ball Breakfast. We were deep in the weeds there with Karain, talking about Sims and math and EV of regular season versus week 17. A bunch of conversations I'm sure you would also love to have.
Yeah, I'm a little bit jealous. I didn't see it, but you know what? We're going to see each other in real life this week, so we can talk about it then.
For sure. How have things been going for you this summer? I feel like I said in the cold open, I feel like this Monday after 4th of July weekend is always like, all right, it's go time. Scott Fishbowl starts. Everybody's drafting. Everybody's starting to think about things. It feels like the final sprint here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think my ETR coworkers are mad at me because I didn't whip up the Scott Fishbowl rankings this year like I usually do. I've gotten a bunch of DMs, but I had a busy 4th, so didn't get to that, but always fun to kick that draft off. I think mine just started like an hour ago.
Yeah, our Fantasy Life crew, Dwayne sent over his specially adjusted projections and ranks for Scott Fishbowl. So I got my little cheat sheet ready to go. And it's very helpful because Scott always adds some kind of new wrinkle to the settings, and you can never go in just with the basis of how you drafted last year. It's always new.
It's last year. I remember the kick returner stuff was just like out of control. So it's not like small. Like you think it's like, oh, it's a small tweak. I'll just draft normal. And then people are drafting like Kevontae Turpin in round 11. And you're like, what's happening here? And you feel pretty lost.
For people who don't know, Scott Fishbowl, it's a massive pro-am tournament that the great Scott Fish hosts. If you're in it, you love talking about it, thinking about it. If you're not in it, you get sick of hearing other people talk about it. But Scott's a good person, and every year it grows in scope, changes the settings. They now have people draft live. Some people draft on Sleeper. Some people draft on My Fantasy League. It's this giant sprawling thing. And then obviously it's all for charity. There's some cool prizes at the end. Always has a cool playoff structure as well, as far as advancing out of your pods and then into these other groups. So if you go to scottfishbowl.com or .org, you will be able to learn more about it. And there's always spots available. He's always growing it. A lot of your favorite content creators will have seats and stuff if you want to win a chance to get in subsequent years. Leone, let's talk some best ball though. Did you draft it all over the long weekend?
I didn't. I did start one of the big dog drafts, a slow draft, next to, I'm drafting at the turn next to none other than the sim god, Dan Zach himself. So I'm about 6 rounds into that one.
What do you think happens when two men who are 4 tight and curious enter the same big dog?
It's going to be a race. It's going to be a race. Who can get that 4th tight end first or last, I guess.
Exactly. Well, keep us posted on how that goes. I have still famously not broken my slow draft cherry, even if it means missing out on promos and maxing things like the Chihuahua.
Yeah, it's always interesting doing the high stakes one because some of the guys slip that you're not used to drafting in the lotto style ones. Like I haven't gotten very much Kyron. I got Kyron in this draft at the 3-4 turn.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is it's fun too, because I think, and this happens in salary cap DFS too, right? Where it's like sometimes the expectation maybe on the surface is like, oh, the higher in stakes you go, the sharper the rooms get. And that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you get the whales, you get some people who have some money to throw around that just want to sweat. I know you get that in the Thunderdome on DraftKings sometimes too. So you can get some interesting rooms in there.
Yeah, you can get people doing weird things. And sometimes it's just different, like not different easy, different hard, just different. So
Yeah.
you got to like kind of recalibrate yourself in the middle of the draft.
Yup. And there's also the element too of sometimes maybe someone is shot taking and it's going to be a go get their guy kind of draft for them, which sometimes if you're more willing to play it from a like longer view kind of thing and be like, I'm just going to scoop the values in this room. Even if I am only doing a couple big dogs, that's another angle. We kind of talk about that with the single entry tournaments where it's kind of funny to see some people go in and reach to get their guys. And then if you're willing to just be the value hound, you can get some unique teams that way.
Yeah, I did go get my guy a little bit. I took A-Chan at the 1-2 turn. That's a guy Gretchen and I really built up when we were podcasting the AFC East on the projection special.
Yeah, I got caught up on that over the weekend, have really been enjoying that series. But we are on the clock, Mike. 1-8 here. Puka, Amon-Ra, Nico here with the draft assistant. And then CMC is also in here by ADP.
Yeah, I think Puka. I really like Puka. Yards per route run stuff over 2 seasons is just really pretty out of control for him. Again, I don't go overboard on the health stuff. I know some people think Puka is the type of player that maybe is more prone to being injured just because a lot of, run after catch stuff, taking some hits and just a real physical, tough player. But I just still think it's a little bit too random for me to worry about that much. So I feel really good about Puka in all formats. PPR formats, when you can get them at this price in particular, is just slam dunk.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible? I think it's probably, most people would agree, both Puka and Devontae can pay off their ADP together at those prices, or not together, but I just mean isolated.
Yeah.
Do you think one of them can have like a league breaking wide receiver 1 season while the other pays off their costs? Or do you think there's any negative correlation there?
I think there's probably a little bit of negative correlation just because if, one of these guys got hurt, I think the target share would just be out of control on the other. But, Puka's been doing it on so much volume, not necessarily the touchdown stuff, that I still think, I just think there's room. They're going to be really concentrated. They generally are very concentrated.
Yeah. AJ Brown, Drake London, and Ladd. Yeah. Running backs getting picked off other than Jonathan Taylor.
I think there's no playoff stuff, right? There's London. I'd probably go maybe tiebreaker London. I'm sure a lot of people are doing that though.
It's popular, but like I don't think in a prohibitive kind of way. London also the slight ADP faller there, so maybe not quite as common as like what was it, the infamous CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, where their ADPs were directly correlated with the game stack as well. Yeah,
and we did launch on ETR DraftKings Best Ball Data Hub because they're releasing like actual data from current drafts and not attached to any username or anything, but you get the actual teams that have been drafted, so you can get the the combinatorial ownership. Still not sure if that's a made up word or not, but Puka and London are 14.5% together. I know that's DK and some of the ADPs are different, but I still think there's probably a lot that translates if you're just curious to check that out. Sometimes it's interesting to see the stacks with the quarterback for whatever reason. Like JJ McCarthy's one where he's stacked with Justin Jefferson like 44% of the time. And then, with Hawkinson like 23% of the time. So some of that stuff's interesting.
How valuable do you think that information is? Obviously it's available on, DK, like if you're doing drafts over there, are you going to be applying that like when you're on the clock, like referencing that, or is it just kind of a fun thing to know?
I don't even like apply it on the clock, but I think, poking around, maybe just getting some ideas, letting it settle. Probably I think one thing that might be good to avoid is just like the really obvious, like the players that are uncorrelated but paired
Yes.
together a lot because the ADP, like just kind of seeing that stuff and how big that can be. I'm not one to give up a lot of value to get unique, but you can give up a smidge of value to not have just that super obvious pairing. So that's one. And the other, I think, is just being willing to stack the quarterback with, even if you don't have the number one wide receiver. It seems like on most of the quarterbacks, there's a much stronger or a higher ownership with the very top wide receiver than with the secondary. You see it a little bit with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown versus Devontae Smith, and some of that might be ADP, but it's 37% with AJ Brown, only 26% with Devontae Smith. So just being open to completing those stacks, even if you don't have the very top wide receiver.
And that checks out to me, like anecdotally on Underdog, even watching people draft. It's almost like the star method thing in effect, right? Like you take you take Trey McBride and then you star Kyler. And then if you get him at ADP, like you're just always going to pull the trigger on that. All right, we're on the clock here. Brees Hall, Kyren, definitely liking us going running backs. Running backs would double up Kyren with Puka. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd go Brees or McLaurin. I wouldn't mind taking the ADP fall McLaurin, who I don't usually get. I'm fine with either of those.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do Brees. I'm not opposed to McLaurin. McLaurin will fall sometimes. I've gotten some 4th round shares of him. Of course, he gets snapped off here, but I don't mind breaking the tie there for Brees.
On the combo ownership stuff, one thing I do want to know is like you're trying to win once you like stuff filters down because it's stage at a time, that I don't think you want to overplay it. It's not like we're going in now like, oh, Hurts with AJ Brown, like you're getting him at 26% versus 37%. Like I'm using to be more open to it. But, if like Devontae Smith has like a really good week and AJ Brown has a bad week in week 15, all of a sudden in week 16, those ownerships paired with Jalen Hurts could be completely different. You know what I mean? It's not like these are the final ownerships you're going to be facing in week 16 or week 17, or even week 15 once you get out of the regular season.
For sure. And I was going to say too, the way you describe, or let's make this pick here. We'll see what comes back. Kyron's still on the board.
Because this guy's got to go. Jaden, right? Get your stack, dude.
Yeah, get your stack, dude. There, you heard it. Leone encouraging you. League.
He's not coming back. He's not coming back. 2 quarterbacks are gone already.
No, I knew that. I knew he was going to do that. Yeah, he's definitely not coming back. Cook, Jaden Daniels, Xavier Worthy, and then Metcalf by ADP.
Yeah. God, I think I'd go Worthy here. I think Cook's fine, but
yeah, I like Worthy.
It's a tough one, but I think Worthy's just got pretty significant upside. We've got one running back. Prefer to just stay a little wide receiver heavier there.
Yep. The other thing I was going to say about the combo stuff is going back to like playing a lot of the dailies, where I think those combos are even more important because you're just working with smaller, six rounds of draft. It means that the ownership condenses even more and can be more of an issue. And those were the ones I'd avoid because the guys over at In-Game Syndicate had the projected ownership for that. And you would go through the most frequent pairings and it'd be like Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase. And you're like, yeah, that checks out. But then you'd look at one and be like Barkley with, Mark Andrews or something. You're like, why?
Yeah.
You see how they're correlated via ADP. And those are the ones that you want to sidestep because you're not actually getting any correlation boost. You're just running into ownership that doesn't actually make any sense.
100%. And in the dailies, that's it. It's one contest. So those ownerships are the ownerships you're competing against for the prizes. It's not like BBM
True.
where the ownership pairings are shifting as you get out of each stage in terms of what teams are remaining.
Yep, for sure. And that's the thing too, where I think we're all in agreement of not overthinking. We saw the year it was CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra. Like that was what you wanted. And the reason that was good was because of where their value was by ADP. And if you were shying away from that because you were worried about the ownership, that would have been a pretty big mistake.
Right. It wasn't a forced thing at the turn.
Right.
I mean, you can see they're both going much earlier now. I know that was 2 years ago, but still.
So we start Puka, Drake London, Brees Hall, and Xavier Worthy. You and Ben had some good conversations about kind of Brees Hall and that Jets backfield. I think definitely one of those risk reward picks where you can see him getting back to being a first round value. You could also see him being a guy we draft in like the 6th or 7th round next year.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn on him. I'm still a sucker for, these players that had a good prospect profile, had the success we wanted to see at the NFL level, and then maybe just had a little bit of an off year. I kind of tend to chase, the value drops on those types of players. And then we take Worthy, who I'm doing the AFC West with Gretsch actually after this, and I'm pretty interested. I think he's a pretty big Rasheed fan, so I'm interested to hear what he has to say on Worthy, who, like, for most of the year really wasn't that good until the very end of the year, but he did do it, in the playoffs, and they missed on so many, something that's not in the data and like yards per route run and stuff. They just missed on so many deep plays that I'm sure he won't get spammed nearly as much with some of the gimmicky stuff with Rice back, but I think we're going to see a lot more big plays in the regular season for Worthy.
Yeah. I mean, they were so, it's kind of crazy to think of what Worthy's cost would be if he was hitting on those plays throughout the season, as opposed to just at the very end. Man, Zay Flowers falls all the way to 56 here. Travis Hunter is also the ADP faller, and Kenneth Walker always in the mix.
Is there anything correlation wise for us here?
I do not see anything correlation wise.
I kind of like Kenneth Walker. I'm really big on Kenneth Walker, but I could take any of those top 3 guys in this start. We went Worthy over Cook, so I'm leaning a little bit more balanced here.
Yeah,
but
let's do it.
I think there's more wide receivers that come back that I like as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a good call there. We've been, I believe even the first draft we did this year, we grabbed Kenneth Walker as just a guy who his ADP is unlikely to move much, and yet being undervalued from just like a pure projections and carry basis there. And I'm with you. I generally like these balanced builds. Pat and I were talking about how it's kind of bizarre that Zay Flowers continues to fall. Hunter obviously falling there. So some tough decisions there.
Yeah. I mean, Zay has been great to start his career. And we saw last year that they're willing to throw a lot more, even when they have very positive scripts. Like, they had a very good season and they were still much closer to, neutral in terms of PROE stuff. Yeah, I think Zay, I just think he's really, really good and just a perfect fit for what they're doing. So definitely a little bit of a tough pass on Zay there. I'm trying to look up the final PROE for Baltimore last year.
While you're doing that, the chat has been entertained by your cat. What's your cat's name again?
Oh, Bruce. Bruce is back. Bruce is like 16 now. So
wow.
he's also, we adopted a couple younger cats and they have not gotten along. So Bruce is somewhat banished upstairs, unfortunately. So he's very happy whenever I'm up here working.
I bet.
I mean, I'm just going Olave, like all the time here. That's a guy Gretch and I are both on, where it's like, just buy the talent and don't worry about the situation. Baltimore last year was lower in PROE than I had remembered. They were actually minus 8%. So they didn't throw as much as I expected, but I think there's only room for that to grow. Zay still got over 1,000 yards receiving. And I think there's some touchdown upside for him.
Well, it'd be fun to talk about fantasy football, but people want to know if Bruce's name, Bruce Smith, Bruce Banner, Bruce Wayne, Bruce Lee. What Bruce is the homage here?
I mean, Bruce is loose. I mean, we've got Easter eggs all over the place. It's not.
There you go. Over for the audio listeners there, Leone pointing to what is that? A Sports Illustrated cover behind you?
Yeah, Bruce Smith.
Okay, there you go.
Also, Blue Jays, I don't know if you pay attention to baseball. I don't really, but apparently they won like 9 games in a row and they're in first place in the AL East right now.
Well, you want to know how I know that, Leone? Because, I didn't know that they are now on that tear, but I went to my first Red Sox game in like 7 or 8 years the other night. It was a birthday gift. Lauren and I went out, beautiful night at Fenway, and those Toronto Blue Jays just absolutely annihilated the Red Sox. 9-0, didn't get to see the home team score a single run.
Oh, no.
But I had a couple of beers and a very nice time at the ballpark. So, but yes, I saw the Blue Jays look pretty good.
I saw they're like plus the run differential for them is like almost even. So they're clearly getting very lucky. But I saw at Fenway, first time I was ever at Fenway in high school, I saw Pokey Reese hit an inside the park home run and a regular home run in the same game. So you never know what you're going to see at the ballpark.
I just want you to know, I do not know that player, but it sounds like you went to a game in the 1940s. Someone named Pokey Reese.
How do you not know Pokey Reese? I mean, I got started with fantasy. I was such a fantasy baseball nerd. He's like a small dude, fast guy. Yeah, Pokey.
I mean, I followed baseball in the mid 90s a little bit, but I was not familiar with Pokey Reese. Incredible.
Oh, man.
Wow, he was on that Red Sox team that won the World Series. There, respect.
So someone fact checked me on this inside the park and regular home run in the same game, as I've seen his stats with only 3 home runs on the year for Boston. I'm starting to doubt my recollection of this game.
This guy Wally was sniping the shit out of me in the first draft. I didn't see a single chat from him. He was all crickets, and he comes out of the woodwork to talk about having Pokey's autograph. Wally, I'm still not over the Michael Wilson snipe, and you want to talk about fucking Pokey? All right, let's focus here. Leone, our team, because the audio listeners are lost. We have Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. We have Puka, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Chris Olave. We're on the clock. We could go Mahomes stacked up with Worthy, Shakir, Matthew Golden. What do you think?
Give me rookies or give me death.
All right, let's do it. Matthew Golden.
What's the Mahomes ADP?
The ADP is 86, and we're at 80.
No. If someone wants to snipe us, so be it. Plus, Golden opens up. I mean, we've got Stafford, we've got Penix, we've opened up Love. We don't need to force this. I love these very heavy running back wide receiver builds.
Yeah. Leone, I did the first room I had this morning on my solo draft gave me Barkley, Derrick Henry, and then Chase Brown was there in the third. And I said, fuck it. We're going old school, hyper fragile build. And I didn't hate it. Did
you stop at 3 or did you go to 4?
I did 4. I got Kyler super cheap. So I did Trey Benson as a 4th.
Nice. No, I like it. That's what we were talking about all last week, though, is like, it's fun to do that, take those values. It's going to be a unique combo and just construct correctly thereafter, which I'm sure you did.
Yes. And I literally flexed and just let out like a guttural, like high testosterone howl after that start. And people were scared, I think, but I was feeling very jacked up on testosterone after it. Okay, here we go. We are about to be back on the clock. We'll see if League of Items takes an unstacked Patrick Mahomes after not taking a stacked up Jaden Daniels. He does not. So we could grab Mahomes here.
I mean, I think I'd do it here. I mean, we're a little bit past ADP. Yeah, yep. I think it's Mahomes, or like, I guess you could argue Hawkinson if you wanted to. I think you just grab the stack there. You could have gone Hawkinson, that just opens, gives us the tight end and opens up JJ McCarthy late, and then we're really doing like 3 late quarterbacks. But yeah, I'm going to take Mahomes.
Yeah, I like it there. And I mean, you're going to get the correlation, obviously, with a Kelsey or Rashee Rice, but just the big play connection with Worthy is pretty exciting from like the pod dynamic element of like when those guys hit. Like Worthy, or when Mahomes scores 30 plus points, like it's probably going to be because Worthy is ripping off like a 70-yard touchdown in those games. Yeah.
The other aspect to it is I just think it's a good buy season for Mahomes in general, right? Like healthier pass catchers. I know Kelsey's declined a little bit, but you get Rice back. I think that more than offsets it. They ran pretty pure in the regular season last year. Like I think they're gonna have to throw a little bit more. I think they want to throw more. I think it's a really good pocket to get Mahomes. I mean, this is the cheapest he's been by multiple rounds. Because even last year, right, he was still going like 5th, 6th, if I recall correctly.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, being able to get 2 starting running backs, 5 solid wide receivers, and then come back to get your first quarterback. And then like the other bonus is I don't mind Stafford. I don't mind Penix, but these are like cheaper quarterbacks here. Olave, obviously Shuck. So, ideally it's going to be kind of hard to do a 2-quarterback build with like Mahomes and Stafford. I guess you could do it. But I just think having the flexibility of Mahomes here makes a lot of the QB pressure points not near as extreme.
Agreed. And I want you to know that I have looked up this game, and Pokey Reese did. This happened on May. Yeah. This guy's
We're
got it.
looking at Pokey Reese.
May 8th,
2 home runs on May.
2004. This
was
is a
when you were-
real thing.
Wow.
I
May
feel like we
2004.
drove to Boston like after my junior prom. Like it was like my junior prom, and we just afterwards drove overnight to Boston.
We are the exact same. Did you graduated high school 05?
05, yeah.
All right, me too. All right, 05 brothers,
look at
stand
us.
up. Look at very different. I did not know who Pokey Reese was, so I guess I was trying to make you sound like an old timer with a Pokey Reese reference, and we're the exact same fucking age.
I'm an older soul playing the fantasy baseball streets since I've been in 8th grade.
That's right. Imagine Mahomes goes nuts this year. Davis only has 8.2%. That's the run out we're all rooting for, brother. Yeah. Okay. About to be back on the clock. We got Mahomes stacked up with Worthy. We got Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. Other wide receivers: Puka, Drake, Olave, Golden. This is the spot here by ADP. We'll see if Kelsey falls to us for that double stack.
We can
Otherwise,
get an drafted Kelsey.
Let's see here. Nope, Andrews. BP here took the Hawkinson pick, so we should be able to get that. If not, Shaheed, Scatabo. Shaheed obviously getting pulled up with Olave. Scatabo would be kind of a high upside running back 3 here for us. We'll see if BP. Everyone's slow rolling us here. You going to do it, BP? Double tight end? No, Tyrone Tracy. All right, Kelsey, the easy click.
I think it's the easy click. Position of need correlated after ADP. Don't overthink it. Don't be on there being like, well, listen, I think Travis Kelsey is going to fall off even more this year. I mean, no, you got to make that pick there.
Yeah, that I had this. Yeah, I mean, I forget where we were. I think we were doing off and on the clock, and people were groaning. Someone said Travis Kelsey was being drafted at his ceiling. At this price was the comment that I remember setting me off. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we're baking in like, a 6-7 round fall to where he was going before.
Travis Kelsey caught 97 passes last year. Like, I mean, there's not that many tight ends that do that. So I don't think he's been drafted as if he's inefficient like last year, yards per catch, but still catches a lot of balls, and like his TDs probably tick up. He's probably due some TD regression. I'm not trying to make like this huge Kelsey case, but yeah, no, he's totally fine where he's going, especially if you've drafted a Mahomes team and it's past ADP.
Yep. That's basically the spots I've been taking him as well with Mahomes there. And like you said, getting our first tight end. And I think too, you kind of have flexibility. Like you can play Kelsey as a 3 tight end build there. I think if you grab another one in the next couple of rounds, you could go skinny there. Shaheed does go, so he's off the board. Najee, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, the suggestions here by ADP. Dak is in the mix, but we don't have anything there.
God, I think I'd go Najee. I don't love it, but I think I'd go Najee.
Yeah, I don't see any. I mean, you do get the Evan Ingram opposite the Chiefs in week 17, but there's also tons of other Broncos bringbacks we can entertain here. Yeah,
and I just, like the tight ends that are going to go at the next turn, probably a little bit better. But now we've got, the 3 stable running backs, most likely a 5 RB build. We can take 2 kind of more exciting shots now that we've got the kind of boring archetype. Also, for the people that are ripping on Kelsey for his age, Pokey Reese was like 31 years old when he had that 2 home run game, including an inside the Parker. Fenway, not the easiest of stadiums, get inside the park home runs. So you can excel over 30.
The other thing too, people always want to talk about Taylor Swift, but people forget that Pokey Reese was dating Marilyn Monroe at the time as well. It was able to navigate the pitfalls of dating one of the most famous women in the world.
He had a short career. My goodness. I remembered him more.
Here we go. FYI, Pee Wee Reese was a shortstop for the Dodgers at 40 to 58 when they won 10 pennants, not related to Pokey. I knew the nickname felt way more old school than it was.
Yeah, Pee Wee Reese, wasn't he involved in the Wally Pip thing? Like, don't get Wally pipped.
Okay.
That's that expression. Did that involve Pee Wee Reese, or am I making things up again? I'm 1 for 1 on not making things up so far.
Please do not goad the chat into more deep dives on people with the nickname Pee Wee and Pokey.
No, look up the Wally Pip phrase meaning and let me know if Pee Wee Reese was involved in that.
You have weaponized the chat into a bunch of Tony Realia stat boys looking up facts for you.
ChatGPT's it's working today.
And people wonder why I'm not at 20,000 subs yet on this channel, because we go on baseball deep dives and the origins of Leone's cat name. Which, by the way, we are getting close to 20,000 subs. So if you guys are watching here and aren't subscribed, please do. We are here every Monday with Best Ball Breakfast. We get 4 drafts, marathon stream, and our special guest today at 1 p.m. after this draft is none other than Josh Norris from Underdog. So excited to draft with Josh. So stay tuned for that. And Leone and I are going to be deciding on our 11th round pick here. We got a 1-3-5-1. The Mahomes double stack, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Najee, the 5 wide receivers, Puka, London, Worthy, Olave, Golden. And we will see what we do here at pick 128. It looks like the assistant liking Herbert with Najee there. Tyler Warren is the ADP faller here, also a ranks value. Either of those guys interest you?
I'm not really into Herbert here. Who I think did he go? It seems like it's lagging a little. I'm not really into the just knowing that we've got other quarterbacks to be stacked or other wide receivers to stack, because we got Penix, we've got Love, we've got Stafford. I'd probably go. I kind of like the rookie tight end, but I know Hollywood's there too if we build up the mega stack. I think I'd go rookie tight end here.
Yeah. Warren would have been the slight preference. I know we've made that move in our 3 tight end rooms before. So doing it here with Loveland right around ADP, I think makes sense.
Wally Pip lost his starting job to Lou Gehrig when he, missed the game due to a headache, and Pee Wee Reese played like 15 years later. So I'm not really even close on that one. So 1 for 2 today.
Now I just have the chat just like copying and pasting stuff from Grok in here about Pee Wee Reese.
Oh, look, we have a small ChatGPT has found a small tangential connection.
But somehow we're tearing down rainforest to figure out Pee Wee and Pokey Reese connections right now.
I love Tyler in the chat. I had a serious question for you. You're not at the right place, Tyler. This isn't the show for serious questions.
Tyler, that's the kind of question that requires at least 99-cent super chat for me to be read aloud. This will be for the visual viewers only at this time. Actually, that's a less horny question. It is. I've been getting a little chafing on some of my runs lately. Not nipples though, more on my my inner thighs.
I kind of just use straight up like the Vaseline petroleum jelly, but I have the Body Glide stick as well. Those are the 2 things I use.
How rich.
And then together they work pretty well.
All right. Is this a Hollywood Brown triple stack pick here? Marvin Mims is the bring back. Tajay Spears, a pretty nice RB4 as well.
God, it's a lot going on. I think I just build out the mega stack.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I see. I goaded Tyler to $2.69 tip. And you got your alpha there, 105 plus 80%. Yes. We're all dealing with it here.
I did like Brent Wilson's. I don't know if you brought up his comment. Leone has 8.3% of Pee Wee Reese. That was good.
Oh my goodness. It's nice to get these kind of endorsements here, Ashton, really demonstrating the range here on Best Ball Breakfast. We were talking about, if you would have told me who would I be talking about, Body Glide sticks or like week 16, 17 expected value, I would have thought it was with you, Leone. So you've done quite the brand pivot. So we do have the big stack now. All of the main Chiefs pieces except for Rashee Rice and Pacheco, but the nice Mahomes, Worthy, Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, aka the Davis Maddox flop lag stack.
What's going on at quarterback? We've kind of let that slip. I think someone took Penix pretty early, so it's basically just Stafford and then Tyler Shuck, who I think we've somehow drafted twice already this summer.
It happens. I think also Darnold with Kenneth Walker would be fine. And
any kind of Washington, baby.
That's, you know what? I will admit, we were talking about combos and people gravitating to just the wide receiver one stacked up. I have not been sick enough to dial up a Tua back stack yet, but maybe today is the day.
I've been sick enough just because sometimes I think Tua falls so much that I'm like, I don't even really care if he's stacked, especially in a 3-quarterback build. And then I'm like, well, now that I have Tua, I'll take Ikine or Malik in the final round.
Yeah. And it sounds like, you and Gretch talked about it a little bit. I had mainly been doing Nick Westbrook Ikine when I was looking for that back stack, but that was also pre all of these moves. In Malik, I think you were guys talking about it like NWI, if you're just trying to get routes, a little safer guy who's on the field. Malik, though, would be the guy where we could potentially see more of a breakout.
A lot of people talking about Brashard Smith in the chat. We have a pretty low rank on him. I forgot who it was last year. Everybody was freaking out because he was getting first team reps at a certain point. And then if you Twitter search the year before, there was some other random running back that was getting first team reps at that point in time. So I don't know, these late round KC running backs, I know we all want them to happen, but I don't know. I'll get Gretch's take today on Brashard Smith, but I think that's a pretty shaky one this time of year. Oh, Deneric Prince was the guy.
I had to pound the table to not take him in our main event draft over Dylan Sampson, because I'm like, guys, round 7 guy on the cheat. I just was like, Brashard Smith is the guy we're going to be able to pick up off of waivers in week 8. Tyler Algier, Matthew Stafford, Pitts. Should we just lock up Stafford?
I kind of think we should just lock Stafford up unless there's somebody really
No, I think we're good. I mean, running back, Algier's nice, but there's some options here. We're fine.
Yeah, it would be nice if we could get Algier or Blue on the way back.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Brashard Smith, it's easier, I think, to tell yourself the story because we all kind of want to bet against Pacheco and all of that stuff. But I do think when you look at the draft capital and the history of the Chiefs really slow playing their rookies, I could certainly see him making an impact, but in managed, it wasn't even close for me.
Yeah, I mean, Kareem Hunt's still there too. Not that he's a threat talent-wise, but this all comes down to what the team's actually going to do.
Well, and I also brought up, so the blurb that got passed around, ESPN did this thing. They have their ESPN Nation reporters, and they asked each reporter for a sleeper from camp. And Brashard Smith was the one that was mentioned. But I also needed to point out other players that were named in this. Danny Gray as the sleeper on the Eagles. Jordan Watkins as the sleeper on the 49ers. I mean, it was about as deep down the depth chart as you could get. So using that article as a springboard for fantasy relevance, I think would be the wrong way to use that information.
This is a great lesson for as the offseason plays on and we do start to get news to just really make sure you understand the context of everything you're reading. Because every year you get this tight end is going to play a big role. And then you read deeper and they mean he's going to play 10 snaps this year instead of 5. And it's
all right, we're about to pick here 2-3-6-2. Running backs have definitely gotten wiped a little bit here. So it's in the wide receivers, Leggett, Besh, Thielen. Correlations here with Thielen opposite Walker and Leggett with same deal.
I might go if we go Leggett, can we close that? Or should we go Batch on this team? I said I probably butchered it.
Hey, you want to do Besh and just leave a light on for Gino?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, because Bryce Young's already gone. And like I said, I had been a Besh hater. Besh in the 160s, though, I am certainly not opposed to. I was the hater of Besh in the 130s, was the price I did not like.
Yeah, I think we're done at receiver. Yeah, we got to be done at receiver.
Yeah, we do have some people bleeding the clock in this, but I honestly don't mind. It's giving us time to talk about Pokey Reese, Bruce the Cat, Brashard Smith, all of the important topics. Chafing Solutions, let us not forget.
Chafing Solutions. Get that body glide.
That would be a great name for a company too, like Chafing Solutions. We're working around the clock to eradicate chafing from the world. Here's the team so far: 2-3-7-2. Definitely, in hindsight, very good that we went Kenneth Walker there because we're ending up a little thin at running back. But Mahomes, Stafford, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Najee, Puka, London, Worthy, Olave, Golden, Hollywood, and Besh, Kelsey, Loveland. So running back is going to be the priority. Maybe we'll get to give the people what they want, a bunch of running back sleeper picks down the stretch.
You know what? Just running underwear in general, I need a good solution for. I feel like every time I get a pair, I wear it once and I'm like, I've solved it. I fixed this. And then the next time I wear it, it's like.
Can I give you the answer? The answer is no underwear. It's to get running. So I like the, I don't know if you're familiar with the company Tracksmith.
I bought it. I can't do, I don't know. There's something, the liner doesn't feel right to me. I can't, I need underwear.
Your dick's too big. It can't.
I wish that was the problem.
Because I love and they double as like swim trunks too. So like when I'm down by the beach and I like go for a run and then jump in the water. But yeah, I love, because I'm the same way as you. The underwear do not work. So I like the liners.
Tracksmith, they make a nice product, but I don't know. The liner just bothers me. A lot of people swear by that though. I think that's a good rack, but I need something else. I can't do the Tracksmith.
This is when I like work out. I don't do it for running, but I have like Under Armour type things. I get mine from like Eastbay. Just like the tights shorts.
I tried the Rundawear and I thought it solved it, but I don't know if like they kind of have like this sticky elastic so it doesn't move as much, but I feel like it wears off a little bit. Oh God, what do we have at running back?
You want to get Geno?
Yeah, probably. I'm just trying to see.
I think we go Geno and 3 straight fun running backs for the people.
Okay. How many fun running backs are left?
Hey, I mean, the chat is mad that we don't love Brashard Smith. I promise you we could find some fun ones because there are a million Brashard Smiths this year. I'm actually working on an article this week for Fantasy Life where I'm going to look at all of the cheap rookie running backs, basically from DJ Giddens on. And, I've heard Gretsch came on Ship Chasing and kind of was making a case for Trevor Etienne. And I think there's some guys there that are pretty interesting, like relative to their draft capital, their place on the depth chart that are just slightly less sexy than the other options. And there's a ton of different options this year. So I think staying on top of those guys is very important.
I got to try I think Neil had a good suggestion here. I know you're trying to talk best ball, but I'm most interested in the side conversations.
This is such an accurate burn. Nothing screams I graduated in 2005 like ordering your sportswear from an Eastbay catalog. So I ordered these online, but this actually tells you how long they withstood the test of time. I ordered these online like 10 years ago and they still hold up. But yes, my reference point was Eastbay, was from the catalog that I got sent to my home in Colorado all throughout my childhood. If it's not broken, Jake, don't fucking fix it. Also, the person saying I have small balls,
they don't understand the liner situation. It's not commando. They don't get that's not what's happening.
They don't. Just had to take a peek. All right, let's focus up here, guys. Let's focus up here. Accusations of small balls.
As much as we need to focus, thinking in a liner situation, I'm on like board shorts over swim trunks. Oh, the Shipley snipe.
The Shipley snipe sucks. This team probably needs Justice Hill.
Does it? We've got 3 guys.
I also love Dylan Sampson. That's my dude. There's also Dante Thornton for a double stack, but there's Giddens.
Dylan Sampson.
Okay. All right, there we go.
I don't like Justice Hill on the like 3 early running back teams. I like him on like the 0 running back teams where you think you have an awesome running back room and then you realize like nobody's playing week 1.
Well, I wouldn't say we have 3 early running backs. We have Brees and Walker, and then we have Najee in the 10th.
Yeah, that's fair. But if I'm like if the whole thesis behind Najee is that he's going to be like some projectable volume week to week, especially out of the gate.
Yeah.
I suppose that's where my brain was at. It's not that we're like locked up.
Huhaim says, I came here for to hear ball talk, and I'm not disappointed. We know balls is the ball talk around here. Okay, Ragnar saying Hanes moisture wicking boxer briefs available at Walmart. More alpha. Now we got Greg looking up Eastbay on ChatGPT. It did go out of business. Foot Locker, Eastbay's parent company, announced the closure of Eastbay brand and its website in late 2022, with the closure being finalized. Well, my boxer tights live on in perpetuity, despite the company going under. 2 more picks here, though, Leon. Like, do you think structurally a 3-4-7-2? Do you think we need to get to 6 here, or can we do like a Dante Thornton 2-2 for the double stack with Stafford or Geno?
I think we could do Don. I think it's between Dante and a tight end, honestly. I think we can get away with 5 running backs on this team.
Okay. Well, yeah. So
I
one
don't
more
know.
running
Maybe,
back.
I guess we don't have as much. You're right. We don't have as much running back capital as it is in my brain. But the running backs kind of stink. I would be fine with Thornton and stopping at 5 running backs.
Okay. Comfort says he only gets his undies from Facebook Marketplace. Oh God, that's the good stuff.
So the Runderwear, like I said, like I feel like they semi-solved the issue by having, like, so if you're wearing like boxer briefs, right? The bottom part on your leg, you can't see my demonstration here. It kind of sticks a little bit, so it doesn't like ride up. But I feel like as that wears off, it rides up, and then you get like them bunching in the groin area. That's my problem that I'm dealing with.
The bunching. Yeah. Hang on. Now I'm thinking about bunching. Do you want it? So yeah, let's grab one of Thornton or Tutu here for the double.
Let's grab Thornton. I think that's
Yeah.
more fun, and yeah,
that's what this show is all about. Is about fun.
When you're drafting an unnecessary final wide receiver too, it kind of feels like you'd rather take the uncertainty on a guy like Thornton versus, you know, the Tutu thesis is like he's going to give you some spike weeks because he's going to be out there. It's not that he's going to break out.
Yeah. And I just want to say this is a moment. You know, we live in a very divisive, polarized political climate. There are good people on both sides of the Jack Bash and Dante Thornton. And sometimes the answer is reaching across the aisle and double stacking Geno with both of them, Leone. But
That's
now
we bring people together.
So now we need to figure out the running back plan here. Or we could Tutu does go, so that double stacks off. You had mentioned Chig. You're right. This could be
we have to go.
Game.
No. Now we gotta do running back. No,
Okay.
I think we gotta do. I think it was tight end versus receiver. I think we gotta do running back here.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking the tight end is kind of thin too, but I guess Kelsey Loveland we can rock too there. Corum with Stafford. Then there's the deep rookie suggestions here. You could do
I'd probably take I think I'd take Corum, right? Like it's kind of a crapshoot, and he's correlated with a team stack and a full, week 17 game stack.
Yeah, I think that's the play. Blake Corum as our running back 5. So we end up with 3-5-8-2. I think you could have argued third tight end over the wide receiver, but the correlations there with getting Tutu or Dante Thornton stacked up seemed pretty intriguing.
Yeah, agreed. If Thornton didn't fit the stack, we wouldn't have gone there. We would have gone third tight end.
Yes. Okay.
If you were playing like an isolated 12-team league, we probably would have gone the third tight end too. But
correct. Corum is allergic to breaking tackles. Tough but fair. Hopefully he's not allergic to the end zone. Kelsey Loveland. What do you think about that 2 tight end I think those guys can carry.
Yeah, that's like a tweener one. I think I'm kind of glad we did the Thornton thing, because I think sometimes I've been too reliant on like, oh, I'm going to be safe and get the third tight end, which I think like more times than not is right. But Kelsey Loveland's a good pairing. You know, you get the aging vet with the rookie that you're hoping ascends towards the end of the season. It's just early enough capital. And if they both hit, I think you're going to be fine with 2. Usually would go 3 there, but I think they're okay with 2. That's probably right on the border as far as where you would want to stop at 2.
Yeah, and it was funny because we kind of found ourselves in the fringe at quarterback too. Like if we would have gotten Jordan Love on this team, like we could have done like a Patrick Mahomes Love 2 quarterback, but I think going 2 with Stafford Geno or 3 with Stafford Geno worked out well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's recap this team. There was a lot of distractions throughout this draft. The audio listeners, their heads, their balls, everything's spinning right now. Here's the team: Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, Dylan Sampson, Blake Corum, Puka Nacua, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Chris Olave, Matthew Golden, Hollywood Brown, Jack Bech, Dante Thornton, and then tight ends Travis Kelce, Colston Loveland. So 3 big team bets: Mahomes onslaught, Stafford with Corum and Puka, Geno with the 2 rookies. But some interesting kind of positional capital decisions there. How do you feel about this team?
Yeah, I feel okay. I mean, we did really well correlation wise, getting the Mahomes onslaught, a Geno backdoor double, Stafford with Puka, and then even the Corum at the end. Definitely a little bit light on running back, especially like you said, we didn't know we were going to do the Geno backdoor double. Had we known, we might have gone running back over one of those mid-tier wide receivers a little bit earlier. The Hollywood one was tough because it's hard not to take the stack after ADP there. You know, from a positional value need, I'd like to swap out Hollywood for a running back.
Hollywood to Tajee. Spears was the one that if we went running back there, I was going to say was going to be a pretty nice RB4.
And that's what's tough when you're playing like, you know, BBM versus something else, because you take Spears over Hollywood and a third tight end would be like the safe way to play this team, right?
Right.
Yeah, Spears over Hollywood. Honestly, don't even need to replace Hollywood with another receiver and take a third tight end. Maybe you take Chig late and add to Tennessee since you've drafted Spears at that point.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's just hard to know. Like you don't that's the whole point of a back stack, right? Like you don't know that that's going to be available. You know, there's a chance we take Geno and then Thornton gets sniped too. So like the way that broke, and this was kind of what Pat and I were talking about, where sometimes the correlation is going to boost that pick to the top, but sometimes like the boost isn't going to be enough on passing on a higher value, higher projected player. This actually seemed like an instance where it was saying, hey, the running backs had been so depleted that the value out of a correlated, you know, upside wide receiver was worth more.
Yeah. And I mean, all 3 of our Vegas picks were like decently after ADP. I know the draft capital doesn't matter that much in the draft, but it's not totally immaterial. I mean, Geno was a full round after ADP, and I think Jack and Thornton were like 10 picks after ADP?
Yeah, each 10 picks.
But roughly 10 picks.
Yeah, I do think the Hollywood was a decision point, and then the Shipley snipe, we were both circling him because that pick made so much sense for this team as well.
Yeah, Shipley hurt. He's one of my favorite backs to draft right now. Especially as like fun late handcuff upside back. And Gretchen and I were talking, he might have more usable week potential than I think people realize with Gainwell gone, like just playing either garbage time or just playing these obvious pass down situations. Like Saquon wasn't playing, 2-minute drills and stuff. That was Kenny Gainwell last year. So you're going to give that work to Shipley, and Shipley's arguably more explosive. I'm trying to look. Not that Gainwell did a ton, but Shipley's going to be on the field as the second running back.
Yeah, I was like, you guys have the draft reports here. ADP value 21.6, draft capital value 10.6, draft capital by position there, draft capital by team. actually kind of sneaky on Atlanta there as well with that week
think it's
17 game stack.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all London, just being taken so early.
But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a classic, Samson we had to reach for because we were, catching up at running back, and the ADPs don't really matter there. Stafford, obviously a correlated piece. Worthy, we kind of IKB'd that range, but otherwise we were kind of scooping values most of the draft.
Yeah, we had a few picks that were obvious, Mahomes, Kelsey, and then we had a few picks where there was honestly a pretty obvious 3 guys. But some of those was running back versus wide, even the Kenneth Walker range. The James Cook one, we had some kind of 2v2s that just positionally was tough to tell. If you know how the draft's going to play out, it's a lot easier. But at the time, it's do you take the running back or the receiver? It's very close.
Yeah, because the other one, could have been what running back was available when we took Matthew Golden? It would have had to have been Swift or Tony Pollard.
It was Swift. It would have been Swift versus Golden. I felt pretty good about Golden there with not having a quarterback. But it would have been Swift. That was the guy I was eyeing if Golden had gotten taken. I think it would have been a coin flip between the other wide receivers left in. I think it would have been Shakir versus Swift. And I might have gone Swift at that point.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, definitely that's definitely probably the most I've pushed. It's funny because you get the 2 up top, 2 through 5, and it's not like you feel super behind, but just the way it broke to basically go from, what did we go from round 6 to round 16 with only 1 running back selection. This was a more running back heavy room than I'm used to.
Yeah, especially in the middle rounds.
I don't know how we're here, but this is a question being asked. Consigliere wants to know why AJ Dillon isn't being projected over Shipley as the RB2.
So if you have some time, check out the Establish the Edge YouTube channel and fast forward to when Gretch and I talk about the Eagles. But Gretch goes pretty in depth on that. Dillon's just been really bad, battled through injuries. His deal is pretty light. It's possible he doesn't even make the team. Shipley's an explosive player that they drafted. We just kind of think he's the heir apparent, and Dillon's just a guy. AJ Dillon, I like AJ Dillon. Seems like a fun dude, Quadzilla and all that. But at a certain point, you would need the production to actually be there. He was, 3.4 yards per carry in 2023, misses 2024. It's just a tough sell, I think.
And sure, I think if even if you're like a Dillon bull and you say Barkley gets hurt, would Dillon get a few extra carries? I think absolutely. But I think if you're getting a league winning contingent pick, it's pretty clearly Shipley, and a rookie they invested decent capital on. They showed some trust in him in the playoff stretch too. All the beat reports about Shipley are very strong. The beats are forecasting a bigger expanded standalone role for him, in addition to obviously kind of being the primary backup. So Dillon seemed kind of like the classic, third option there, and not a priority in drafts to me.
I do think Philly, in a situation where Saquon goes down, we could see their offense be very, very different. I think they'd be much more pass heavy. You lose, obviously, the most talented rusher in Saquon. Shipley is a very versatile back who can do a lot of pass catching. I just think that whole offense could be different. And Shipley at his cost, no matter how the offense is designed, is going to be a smash if Saquon gets injured. But just as far as the upside, when you're building out the Hurts stacks, if you do that without Saquon, I do think the scenarios where he gets hurt, they put a lot more on Jalen Hurts. The issue right now with Hurts versus the top guys is all the offenses in terms of the Bills, the Ravens, they're running through Josh Allen, they're running through Lamar Jackson. Obviously the Eagles, it's a bit more split. They're not necessarily running through Jalen Hurts, they're running through kind of Saquon.
All right, Leone, fun draft with you here today. Let people know if they want to check out stuff at ETR, anything you guys got going on. Obviously, that projection series with Ben Gretch, mentioned that a few times. Awesome listen there. What else should people keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I mentioned the Best Ball Data Hub for DraftKings. I think there's a lot of stuff you could translate and learn from to UD and just kind of think through, as we talked about on stream. I don't think you're pulling it up in the draft and using it to make decisions, but kind of just to help set your macro strategies is kind of interesting to look at. Other than that, rankings continue to be updated. Recording again with Gretch this afternoon for the AFC West, and then I'm headed to New York City to see Dink, Peter, and Karain. So that'll be fun. We probably won't get a chance to record episode 6 until next week.
Awesome. Yes, looking forward to that later this week. Leone, thank you as always. We'll catch you next time on Best Ball Breakfast. And without further ado, time to bring up our guest of honor today, my man, Mr. Josh Norris. Why are you laughing at guest of honor? Do you not believe me?
I mean, it says breakfast, and then I'm on at 1, right? I do appreciate that. I'm ready to spin the wheel, Pete. Excited for this.
That's right. Yes, let's see. We're not spinning the wheel, Josh. This isn't randomizer, but
are we doing around the horn?
You're doing basically this show. It's going to be like randomizer meets Around the Horn meets Family Feud meets Nickelodeon Guts. And I did have some slime put over your head for this draft. Are you ready for that? I also need a little housekeeping. Shout out to Mythology. As always, I know Josh is familiar with Underdog Legend Mythology here, gifting 5 memberships. He wanted me to sauce your team. I saw your team, Mythology. A little worried about your wide receivers. Love everything else about it. But Josh, how's your best ball summer been going?
It's been great, man. Summer flies by, unfortunately. Like we have July, and then our lives are great, but then our lives are over at the exact same time. The cycle begins once August kicks off. I'm excited for that on some level because we'll have new information to talk about. But Hayden and I are still pumping out at least 3 videos a week over on our channel.
Yeah, awesome stuff. I was checking out the recent one with Matt Harmon covering the wide receivers. What kind of stuff should people keep an eye out for on the channel in the coming weeks?
We might have the big fish on later this week. He's almost like a what's the right term? Endangered species on content. Evan Silva is joining. Big dog. Yeah. Yes, is joining this week, which will be great. Tomorrow we are basically unleashing what we believe are the top 12, 15 selections and kind of how everyone is take locked and how the top 12 picks are right now in round 1. And if we disagree or agree and why.
Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to that. It's funny. We've been trying to nail down Silva for an appearance on Ship Chasing, and he's been, his weekend in Cape Cod, his ETR retreat. So we're going to hopefully get him soon as well. So we're going to finally get treated to some Silva appearances, it sounds like. Yeah.
I mean, again, I think, and I mean this in a positive way. I think at periods when we have all this discourse online, he is best ball hibernating. And so he will just kind of dish out whatever firm takes he believes in that will go against the grain. And I'm excited to get a few of those. That's for sure.
As am I. And sorry for any confusion, Josh, if you did think you're on randomizer, but I was just thinking we could vibe through a draft.
No, I was just kidding.
Okay. Sometimes I have people come on and they don't know which show they're getting. So it's a fair comment. Yes. Shout out to Emo. Sorry, I thought this was Best Ball Brunch. Are you familiar with the Best Ball Brunch lore? Are you familiar?
I am not. No.
Are you just being a prude, or you're not familiar that there was an actual porno called Best Ball Brunch that was released a couple years ago?
No, I legit did not know. So when I posted that I'm on for the brunch segment, did not realize what I was referring to. Wow,
okay.
That's
well, there you go. Something fun for you to Google later tonight, Josh.
Okay, great. Oh, goodness gracious.
All right, we're on the clock, though. I want the Josh. You like Bijan, Barkley, Gibbs? Who do you want?
I'm either Saquon or Bijan. Do you have a lean here?
I did Barkley in my first draft, so I'm down to mix it up, do a little Bijan here.
Yeah, let's go Bijan.
You mentioned doing a video coming up on the first round. Where can we get a little teaser? Where do you think like the first round or a player who's most mispriced?
I mean, these things change so quickly. I would have said a couple weeks ago, CMC over Ashton Genty would be one, and now that flipped. Yeah. And even like Devon Achane and Hayden and I were on him, mid second round where he was going there in the first month or so, and now he's around that 1-2 turn. And then these wide receivers are really interesting in that area, and like what's the mark, what's the cliff of if you want like the point of taking the wide receivers versus the running backs and all this. And is that name Amon-Ra because he's dealing with, the surgery? Is it Nico Collins? Like, where is it? So it's an exciting one. That's for sure. I haven't completed my notes if you haven't, Cast.
No, I mean, some of the takes I've heard from people, and I guess I kind of agree with it, that there's 16 or 17 first round picks. And that really the huge advantage is basically having a later pick, because then you can get.
I do love the turn this year. I think the turn sucked last year because we were forcing all of those early second round selections, the Marv picks, the Chris Olave picks, the Garrett Wilsons, all that type of stuff. But I love the turn way more this year than I did last year.
Yeah, for sure. And you think the picks you're having to take with the 101 and one, you're down to T Higgins and Marv Harrison and Jacobs and a lot of these guys with questions, where you could start Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas like this drafter did here. And it's man, that feels good.
At the same time, I think round 3 is one of my least favorite rounds in all of best ball drafts at this moment, where there's only maybe 3 or 4 picks I actually like in that entire round. And so again, being on this end of that turn does make that one a little bit more palatable.
Yeah.
Bowers is a fascinating one at this point too. I'm sure you talk about it in every single show, but I do feel like he was going at the turn at some point, and now he's going to drift more and more and more to at least the midpoint of round 2.
Yeah, big board season, he was kind of a fixture of the 1-2 turn. And now I've gotten him sometimes with Jefferson or Chase, way back on this other side of the board. All right. Derrick Henry, JT, Bucky, T.
Yeah, we're going Derrick Henry.
Yep.
We are loading it up with running backs here. Here's my question, Pete.
Yeah.
The mystery box proclamation here. When drafting Ashton Genty, are you just hoping he has the Derrick Henry season that we just saw last year?
Dude, I'm with you on this take. Genty is the round 1 guy I'm most afraid of. I'm light on him.
I totally get it from the point that when you look over Chip Kelly's 4 seasons of calling plays in the NFL, that no matter if they were, the 4th best offense or the 27th best offense, they were top 8 in carries across the league. So he's going to get a ton of work. But as you know, carries don't necessarily equal touchdowns. And Derrick Henry is scoring a boatload of touchdowns when on the field because he is the guy that handles the football inside the 10-yard line for that team.
And for sure. And we talk about, we love rookies. We love the mystery box element of what they could become, but there's also still the downside in that mystery. Right. We all want Genty to be good. His profile says he's going to be good, but there's still that more unknown relative to some of these guys. It's hard. And I will say though, he's been falling a little bit. Obviously CMC jumps him regularly now. I wouldn't be shocked to see Achane, who I did put on the cover for you. I know you've been pretty hyped on Achane, so I could see him.
Let's look at the player pool. I'm too competitive with this, Pete.
No, I need you to be.
Pete, we take Trey McBride here, or we are definitely starting running back.
So I did my first draft this morning, running back. So I'm no stranger to this start. It is possible. Okay. I am very much for it, depending on what this drafter does here. He goes Jacob. So you want to do McBride or Chase Brown?
I have drafted so much Chase Brown this year and not that much Trey McBride. I'm open to either. So you pick.
Let's do Trey McBride, just because the draft I did this morning, Josh, I did Barkley, Henry, Chase Brown.
Okay.
It would have felt like
I hear you on that.
Identical start.
Chase Brown is one of the players that I am taking in round 3 and just running away. Those wide receivers, and Devontae Adams is another one of those, but then it gets into this weird wide receiver area that I feel less and less comfortable. And if I'm towards the end of that 3-4 turn, then all those quarterbacks just stand out to me. Maybe I'm playing it safe with that, but I'm exiting so many drafts, Pete, and with 1 or 2 running backs, then 1 or 2 wide receivers, then 1 quarterback, and then oftentimes George Kittle once we get to round 5. And that's my through 5 start over and over and over again. And so maybe I'm repeating myself too much, but that's how I felt comfortable so far this summer.
No, I like it. And the only issue with that is it used to be George Kittle round 5, and now he's like a fixture of mid to early round 4. So that because that was just an auto click, and so now easy. You're starting to pay up for it a little
Now at the same time though, Trey McBride was often like a 2-3 turn player. And now again, he's getting closer and closer to the mid round 3 point. So the gap, I think you and I can both say the gap between like McBride and Kittle was way too high, but that doesn't mean I was willing to take, George Kittle mid round 4 to make that one closer.
For sure. So what you mentioned doing the drafts. Who are the scariest drafters in the underdog employee only tournaments?
So To be honest, I am a slow drafter
Okay.
when it comes to our in-house tournaments.
Mhm.
So I don't cross paths with Hayden a lot because Hayden is only a fast
Oh,
drafter
fast
when it
draft.
comes to
Okay.
those. So we have kind of both taken our section and, are attacking those. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that know ball who, and I think the issue is they watch the content at the same time. So they're often taking my favorite like round
Yeah.
16 guys and take them in round 14. And I'm like, up there goes Pat Bryant once again. There goes Jalen Wright, 3 picks ahead of me. So
And then you have to wrestle with, do I want my, on one hand, hey, my coworkers supporting my content and watching is great. On the other hand, stop fucking taking my players. That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I would prefer just to have Jalen Wright in every draft than you watch my content. Yeah.
So what was some of your fallout takes from the Jonnu stuff? Like I said, I saw some hype from Achan from you.
For
How are you
sure.
thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, the A-Chain stuff's been going since the start of the summer. I'm just obsessed with them because, look, last year, everything went to shit for, if I can curse on this channel, I'm sure
You
I can.
sure can.
With the Dolphins. And, they pivoted. And this is how, to me, flows into the Jonnu stuff where that team could not block up front worth a damn. Like, literally the worst run blocking unit in the league. And so it was all behind the line of scrimmage receptions to their running back. And then that basically made what I think it was 26 or 29 receptions for Jonnu Smith were behind the line of scrimmage last year, or 23, one of those numbers. And so to me, if they just naturally got better at run blocking and running the ball, then Jonnu was going to lose his value. So I was never in on him as like the tight end 6 in drafts early on. So, okay. What do we have here?
So we'll see what this timeout here is. Worthy, Jameson, Sutton, Pickens, Waddle, the wide receivers, Cook, the running back, Fowler, Hurts, the quarterback in this range.
Yeah, I'm going Hurts.
All right, let's do Hurts here.
I don't feel like tremendous about any of these wide receivers. I know we don't have one yet. And so at some point we will have to take them. My question to you, looking at the player pool, can you be in on both Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy this year?
So I think you can. However, I'm way more on the Worthy side of it.
Interesting.
I found the price tag for Rashee, especially this new one. I have like complete sticker shock, and I think there's elements of the Xavier Worthy breakout that you can't put back in the bottle. And I just prefer the cheaper cost there. So yeah, I'm light on Rashee, but I think because they both win in different areas, you play it as Hollywood's nothing, Kelsey falls off the cliff, and Rashee and Worthy are the offense. Like, I think you could play it that way if you wanted.
Yeah, because at first I asked that question, can you be in on both Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce? But Kelsey's going so late that even if they win in the exact same area of the field, then I understand people taking some Travis Kelce. I hear you on the Rashee Rice stuff now being what, the 208 or whatever it is. I mean, that's so early. So early. But especially when we were getting him 3, 4, whatever it was. Okay, we have no wide receivers left. This is not fun.
Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley, Zay Flowers would be the best options here.
I mean, should we just go full on and go Travis Hunter here, or should we go Calvin Ridley? I'm kind of fading Zay Flowers right here, to be honest with you.
That's fine. I'm good with Hunter or Ridley. Which one do you want?
Let's go Travis Hunter.
Let's do it. Travis Hunter, he's finally
our wide
been
receiver
sliding.
one.
Hey, that's right. What's your take on? I feel like every single week there's a different quote. Who was it? It was it the owner's son who was on the
Tony
Rich
Khan.
Eisen show holding his like mug like this during the entire interview or something?
Now the other part of Tony Khan is obviously he owns a wrestling promotion at this time, so I think he loves the misdirection and like all of his words kind of have meaning in that regard. I think Travis Hunter is going to play 80% of offensive snaps. I really think he's going to be a wide receiver first, and then the cornerback stuff is like an add-on to everything. It's a supplement. I could be wrong, but that's how I'm viewing it. And that can be wrong if Tyson Campbell, their cornerback 1, misses time, and maybe their cornerback 2 misses time as well, and they're just super needy on that side of the ball. But if everyone is healthy, which doesn't happen in the NFL, but if everyone is healthy, I would just be stunned if Travis Hunter isn't playing 80% offensive snaps. Yeah, or 75, I guess.
You look at the season long prop lines and stuff as well. Like he's just right there with Tet for expected wide receiver. Like the market is not baking in him being like a 50% player. They are saying he's like going to be 90% based on like those yards. And then you get the black box. What if he is as good as his draft capital and all this indicates, and he's just a superstar in the way Odell Beckham was a rookie or like superstar.
Totally.
Like all of that is possible.
Yeah. Once again, I am too invested in the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. That's the Trevor Lawrence discourse, the running back stuff. I'm not exactly sure. You know, I had my Britton Strange moment. It was the pre-draft best ball where he was going way too late. And now I think is quite appropriate as around like what, tight end 18, 19, 20, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think Liam Cohen is just an incredible player or incredible play caller, I should say. And so I'm really excited to see what he can do with it, with that system and that offense.
And the fun thing is they got the high end guys, but then they're fun to backstack too. Grab one of the running backs. Grab Lawrence. You mentioned Strange. De'Ami Brown is a great.
Well, yeah. If you don't believe Travis Hunter's playing 75% of offensive snaps, you need to be exiting every single draft with De'Ami Brown. To me, it's really that simple.
Yeah, no, I think that is a very good take there because he would be on the field every snap. Looking at wide receivers here, Debo, Jacoby, Pearsall, Golden. Yes, yikes. I don't mind a Debo, Jacoby. You want to take another big swing?
It's either Debo. I mean, I'm kind of in on Ricky as well. Let's go Debo. And then I think on the way back, we can get one of, well, we'll see. I won't say anything too loud. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, look at pick one. I mean, 5 wide receiver start is, I think, a bit greedy, just being honest with you.
Hey, trust me. In this economy, this is what these guys do here. I found normally you get in a normal room, like the balance builds come pretty naturally. But this morning, it's been old school, wide receiver heavy draft room. So we're fighting back today.
Yeah.
All right.
Question to you. I know you're deep in the wide receiver streets. If you start off with 5 wide receivers, do you basically shut that down until you get to round 16? Because why continue to invest in that if you already think you're going to be wrong in those top 5 wide receivers? Anyways, let's go Matthew Golden. I love Matthew Golden at this spot. I am actually stunned that you're able to get Matthew Golden after Jaden Reed in drafts sometimes.
Yeah, they're kind of ADP twins. He goes ahead, obviously, in this one. But yeah, I'm with you. Like if I did 5 like this person did from the 1 hole here, I'm probably taking like 1, maybe 2 at most, and they'll be later and probably stacked up with whatever quarterback. I take Kyler here with Marv. Maybe I'll grab Michael Wilson kind of thing.
Yep. I've been drafting a ton of Matthew Golden recently, a ton of Emeka Egbuka recently. And I know he's still on the board, I believe, as well.
Josh, do you get excited or offended if I tell you Matthew Golden plays Derrick Henry in week 17?
I love it. Pumped. That was idea number 1 in my head. I was just waiting for you to say it. I didn't want to be the one to say it.
Some are calling it our generation's Tyler Algier and Zach Ertz week 17 correlation.
Yep. Love it. But these round 1 wide receivers, I mean, I understand that the rookies are the ones dropping in ADP more than any other at this point. I am loading up in round 6, round 7, round 8 when I can get those guys because once we hit training camp and we get 1 positive play in preseason, 1 positive social media post from practice, Pete, you know how this works. Like those guys climb picks and picks and picks above. So
how do you think like the golden hit scenarios, do you think it's kind of like Christian Watson rookie year? Or do you see even more to it than that in the high end scenarios?
Yeah. Just think about that offense at large. When Christian Watson did go down last year, their offense just got like totally compressed, and there just wasn't a lot of room to attack for an offense that really does want to attack down the field. I think Jaden Reed is a better player than they are allowing him to be. Like this is why he kind of disappeared in games last year. Like he can do more than LaFleur allows him to do. Again, Matt LaFleur knows way more about football than I do, but that's just my third person opinion on it. And yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they took Matthew Golden is to kind of be that every down presence on inside breaking routes, on downfield routes, to kind of stretch things as well for a quarterback who is super ambitious down the field, who I don't know if it's been mentioned enough that like, yeah, man, he dealt with such an injury last year that every single shot he took was basically limiting his play. And they kind of coached a game and game plan a game for that as well. So
yeah, I mean, the splits before and after that injury are
drastic
nuts for the entire offense. So yeah,
and then I'm
with
so
you.
in on Emeka Egbuka. Like I get what Chris Godwin did last year, right? But it just seems weird at this moment, and maybe I'm off base in saying that, but I think I would kind of take him right next to where Chris Godwin is going, at least in this draft.
I like it. What about another rookie?
Love
You
it.
like Higgins here?
Yep. Let's go for it.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, I think in this room too, we're trying to
We
dig
got
out
to.
here. Higgins is also fun. I mean, in all the
Love
early
it.
training camp stuff is just he's an absolute animal.
Yeah, and again, to me, a big edge in fantasy football can be just getting the unknown right. And in that, I mean new play callers on new teams. And if you get the ones that overperform that everyone is undervaluing, like the Commanders last year, for example, like I was trashing their offensive line. I was questioning Cliff Kingsbury as this horizontal raid. And then the people that were right realized that, oh, that was because a Kyler Murray situation and not how Cliff was going to necessarily call this offense throughout the entire year. And then you're able to get just some massive values on that team. I think the Texans can be one with someone like Nick Caley, who comes from the Patriots, and then to the Rams. He's going to change their running system too. They have at least enough NFL offensive line experience to trot out 5 starters out there that can, I think, at very least pass protect better than they did last year, where they couldn't pick up a twist or a stunt. And then, yeah, Jaden Higgins is just a fun player, a really good player who massive size on the outside, catches passes outside of his frame for a quarterback who only throws within someone's frame. And yeah, these are just massive dudes that are going to line up on the outside of the formation and win down the field. So why not like that?
So we go running back heavy to start. We got 3 of 4 rookie wide receivers here. Fun team cooking.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, I love it. So pick 100. We're at a 1-2-4-1. The question is, do we circle back to a different position here, or do we keep looking at the wide receivers?
Dang. Okay. I would have really wanted either. Yeah, I would want to B-Rob there or Jordan Mason, but Jordan Mason's obviously off the board. I don't love any of this right now, Pete.
Yeah, like Warren or Coleman. You could pull up another rookie like Luther.
I don't
Burden.
like any of this. Just pick someone. I really don't want any of these guys.
Let's grab another running back. Let's grab
I don't think I've drafted Jalen Warren like one time so far this summer.
All right. I try to let my guests get guys they like, but you told me you like no one on the board here.
Yeah, to be honest, I this would have been sacrilegious. I almost might have taken a second quarterback there.
I think it would have been which one would you have been eyeing?
Probably Justin Fields.
And then shut it down at quarterback with Hurts and Fields.
Yeah. Like when because you get in at this point in summers where no new information is coming in, I do feel like there are certain rounds where you like absolutely no one. And in those moments, there's still a quarterback that I feel like I can make a case for. And sometimes in those moments, I'm just pivoting on over to that player, to said player.
Yeah. And the only reason quarterback would have been tougher is just because we have Lawrence, we have Love, and we have Stroud as a stack partner. So it's like always nice to keep one of those in the back pocket. But I'm with you. This was a very tough.
This round sucks. Who likes this round? I don't like a single one of these players that's being selected right now.
If you're not getting like the clean quarterback stack, like if you get Baker at 103 with Mike Evans, like, yeah, maybe that one feels good, but I'm with you. It's a rough round.
And that's not to say, like, I can see Trey Harris, making him work because he gets to do more in an NFL offense than he did in Ole Miss's offense. I'm a big Luther Burden guy, and maybe he gets to be, Ben Johnson's new Jameson Williams plus, So I can hear the case but again, the information we have right now, I don't like any of those round 9 picks.
Knowing like that we have the Lawrence, Love, and Stroud, and, probably going to be able to get one of those. Do you have a favorite, as far as back stacks? You can make a strong case for any of those on this team.
I love Trevor. Yeah. I love all those guys, though.
Yeah.
I'm happy with any of them.
Those are those I think are my 3 most drafted quarterbacks: Love, Stroud, and Lawrence. They're just the perfect blend too of the price. And like you said, all of those guys have the backstack options. You can do the Kraft, Romeo Dobbs. If you're a Wicks guy, that's there. Obviously with Stroud, you can do Knoll, you can do Christian Kirk. I think Kirk and Dobbs are guys that are going to make sense for us on this team where we're just needing wide receiver depth, especially with some rookie heavy starts here as well. So we can take a look at this and figure out how we're going to do it. we are on the clock. We could grab our quarterback of choice now. We could take a running back.
See, I would have liked Ramondre here, but again, we can't. I guess we can.
We can do Ramondre.
Yeah, let's do Ramondre.
Of course. Ramondre is running back 4 there. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Why?
Cool.
Do you not?
And then we'll just take one more. I mean, I know no one likes to take Ramondre Stevenson except for me right now. So
I took Ramondre with Pat on the second draft. Ramondre at 117. I like both sides of that backfield. I take Trevion Henderson when he falls in the to the mid and late 6th, and Ramondre on teams there where I kind of want to go with a faster start running back room. Let's get our preferred quarterback here though. At 124. What do you think?
I'm a Trevor guy.
Let's do it. Yeah, and Love goes, so that makes it very easy.
Perfect. Look at that.
Okay.
Pete, I mean, I'm sure you drafted worse teams this summer.
Oh, I mean, I've drafted some bad teams. This is not one of them, Josh. This is not one of them. No, the thing is too, it's like I was talking about this with Pat because we did a team where we drafted a bunch of rookie running backs. We had Omari and Hampton, we had Judkins, we had Warren there. And it was just like, how do you make that team work? How do you take advantage of that? And I think that's what we have to think through here. We have Hunter, Golden, Higgins. How do we get enough points early in the season that we can enjoy their late season upside? I think is kind of our goal for the rest.
Yep.
So yeah, here's the team so far. Hurts, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. We're good there. 4 running backs, Bijan, Henry, Warren, Ramondre. 4 wide receivers, the 3 rookies, Hunter, Golden, Higgins, along with Deebo Samuel, who some say is fat right now, but let's give him some time to get into shape, Josh, and then Trey McBride at tight end.
No, I'm a Deebo guy this year, 100%. Like, think previous years where we had to select him, like round 2, round 3, round 4, and then we're getting this discount on him in an offense that dials up screens and was making Olamide Zaccheaus and, again, De'Ami Brown and Noah Brown, like relevant, legit top 12 scorers in certain weeks last year. And now we can feed that to Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. So,
yep. It feels to me like the wide receiver version of last year, all the running backs changing teams in free agency and kind of overthinking what a good landing spot fit those were. I mean, like Jaden Daniels is just a kingmaker. And, and Deebo has been a dog whenever he's been healthy. So I'm like, if he's healthy and he's with Jaden Daniels, like the fantasy points are going to come.
Yeah, I should actually pull up some of the numbers that I actually have looked up in the past instead of just spitballing here, Pete, and I can try to give you something. Okay, what do we have next?
So this is interesting. Do you want to get Goddard stacked up with Hurts as our second tight end? Oh no, Goddard goes. Damn. So we could do if we're looking at wide receivers, it's like Cedric Tillman, Quentin Johnston, Leggett, Palmer, Dobbs. We could do Eckler, Garendo, Jaden Blue. Any names jump out to you?
Let's go Xavier Leggett or Cedric Tillman, one of those.
All right. I think I got Cedric Tillman in time. Let's do that.
Let me grab a towel, Pete. I spilled all my coffee.
Oh man, I have been there. Hey, how you're on Best Ball Breakfast when you accidentally spill your coffee?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, look at that. This show, we were talking about different moisture wicking underwear with Leone earlier.
Yeah, let's just hope my computer stays on.
I've spilled smoothies at my desk, Josh. It is part of the territory. You were doing good. All right. We are going to pick again. I wouldn't mind. Are you a Dobbs guy? Oh, we don't. Sorry,
Romeo Dobbs.
We don't have a Love. I forgot about that.
I'm a Pat Bryant guy. Why don't we just go like all rookie wide receivers?
Let's do it. Let's rip it in. I like Pat Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong, but if I listen to the head coach, all he talks about is I want size at wide receiver. I want size at my pass catchers. It's why I'm kind of anti Marvin Mims this year, even what we saw towards the end of last year. But again, I'm just trying to go off, and I maybe I buy into it too much, but coach speak, and then just again, teams are honest through their draft picks and through their trades and through their free agents, and they've brought in Pat Bryant and they've brought in Evan Ingram. And so I'm just a Pat Bryant guy. And Hayden, I liked him before. I think part of what's going against Pat Bryant too is almost no one knew who he was before the draft. Like no one knew.
He came out of nowhere.
And we made a video on him, and it did one of the best because again, we had one of the few videos on him. And yeah, he just has some of the best hands in this class. Might not separate from anyone, but that hasn't stopped Sean Payton from peppering those guys with targets in the past. So
let's also get the Josh Norris, Cedric Tillman take. I know we were under the gun there. I was looking at our fantasy life projections, and that entire Browns passing offense is just undervalued relative to projections right now.
Yeah, I guess my one concern is like Pat Bryant's on a good team. Cedric Tillman is on a bad team. Like the Browns, I believe, are projected for the fewest amount of points in the NFL this year. It sounds like Kenny Pickett might legit start games over Joe Flacco. I would rather it be Joe Flacco, but I think Cedric Tillman, obviously he had the concussion last year. What he's been missing practice with this summer is not the concussion that was reported by local beat writers. He's just a starting X wide receiver in the NFL and wins in a very different way than Jerry Jeudy does. And I like Cedric Tillman a lot as a player.
Yeah.
We might get him here.
We already
he went. Yeah, he went. Got it.
No. Who were you talking about? Strange we lose out on, which is a bummer.
Okay.
We could do Tank Bigsby if we want to rip it in on the Jags, or we could go back to wide receivers, Jalen McMillan.
Who else is that running back?
Roshan, Braylon Allen, Rico. You got any favorites in there?
Did Jalen Wright already go? Yeah, I guess so.
No.
Is he down? You just have him way down.
He's gone.
He's
Hang on.
gone? Okay.
I just have to put a wide receiver in here real quick because we're about to time out.
That's my bad.
Hang on. Let me see if Jalen Wright was gone. Yeah, he went.
Wow.
He went early in this one.
Wow. Because I was talking about him earlier, Pete. This is what happens, right?
It's you. Where did he go? Yeah, he went 156 to X-Spin here. I will also say, speaking of just like pulling guys up to get our guys, like if we want to get a double stack with Lawrence, do you want to just like grab De'Ami Brown at 172? We can do that.
Let's do it.
Where are you at on the Jags like backfield debate? Because that's always the hot one here.
Yeah, good question. I think my biggest Jags running back take might be the one that backs me or bites me the most. I think I'm just out on Travis Etienne.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he's very good.
And he's also the most expensive.
Correct. So the one I've been drafting the most, again, this might be disgusting, has been Tank Bigsby. Because I think straight up, he has been a better player in the last year than Travis Etienne, who is a volume sponge at this point in his career. You know, he really is. Bashal Tutin can come out there and shock the world in terms of just be really good. But I think how Bashal Tutin played the position and Bucky Irving played the position are like drastically different types of players. But we'll see.
Yeah. I've been starting to mix in some more Tank. I mean, he goes at 168 here. I mean, we were pretty loaded up at running back, so it wasn't a priority, but I have no problem at these prices. And like you said, like the spread now between Tank and ETN, we're almost at 60 picks? Yeah, 61 picks here. That's pretty massive there.
We will learn more during, preseason. And so I am totally open to adjusting my opinion at that point. But then at the same time, that's also one of those positions that will change over the course of a long NFL season. So we'll see. Pete, I will say my brain was just put in a blender as soon as I spilled a whole cup of coffee.
I have been there. Let me recap the team for everyone, ourselves included. We got Hurts and Lawrence at quarterback. We got our 4 running backs, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren, and Ramondre. We have crawled out of this hole or clawed back at wide receiver. Travis Hunter, Deebo Samuel, Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, Cedric Tillman, Pat Bryant, Jalen McMillan, and De'Ami Brown there for that Lawrence double stack we both like.
I think this is the first time I've drafted Jalen McMillan.
Okay. Yeah, to me, we're just like throwing darts at wide receivers here. I think we could have done like a Demario Douglas or Wan'Dale Robinson for like a little higher floor.
Nope.
Swing for the fences.
I'm happy we didn't take those guys. Okay. So let's just plan out our positions to move forward. So we have 2 quarterbacks. I have been, again, when I get to round 17, 18, and there's literally no one that I like, then I have been known to take a Tyler Shuck at that point, just to have a third quarterback, even if I have an elite quarterback at the top. But we have no other tight ends, do we? So we need to take, I'd be open to 2 late round tight ends as well, because I still like a lot of the late round tight end names. And then do we need one more running back, or do you want to stop at 4?
I think we could do one more. I do think we're flexible, right? I think we're for sure another tight end. I think we could be done at quarterback unless you wanted to do like a Tyler Shuck, Jawan Johnson.
We'll see if we like anyone on the
combo.
board.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have flexibility beyond the second tight end. I think it's what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable at wide receiver now that we have 8?
Probably.
Yeah.
I will say I do like some of the round 17, 18 names. You guys have talked about them, like Tutu Atwell, Adonai Mitchell. Like these are, I don't know if we'll feel as comfortable about these late round wide receiver names in previous years. As
do you have
with these guys?
Do you have a horse in the A-Rich Daniel Jones race?
I think it's just going to be Daniel Jones. I would kind of be surprised at this point if it's not. Oh man.
Yeah, so we got tight ends: Jonnu, Chig, Waller, Freiermuth.
Dude, let's just go Waller.
Grab Waller here. Yeah, let's get.
I mean, this could be a total 0, so we might need to take a third one.
Yes. What bye week is the Dolphins, by the way? Because that's not in the app. They're 12. Okay, we're good there. Yeah. What's the take on Waller?
I don't know if I have one. I could see him lasting 17 games, and I could equally see him retiring on August 17th.
Yeah, if he's like gets through like 2 weeks of preseason, is like, you know what, I want to go back
for
to
real
songs.
I mean, he literally said he retired last year because he had to lead block between the tackles. And granted, that is certainly not fixing the MO around what the Dolphins are in terms of being soft in November, December, and January. But at the same time, this is one of the 2 guys he ever wanted to come back and play for was Frank Smith. And I just think he's going to be more Mike Gesicki than Jonnu Smith. Like, again, I think the Jonnu production last year was like a real aberration.
I love and just how they win. That's like such a good comp. Like Waller's not going to win with a bunch of like 5-yard quick hitters. It's going to be like more downfield. Gesicki had like a much higher ADOT. I do think we could look at. Do you have any favorite running backs down here? I think we could go with a 5th running back.
All the ones I like are kind of like off the board.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, the only one I've been clicking a lot is Dylan Sampson, and we do have Cedric Tillman with the Browns. Wide receiver, there are some of those names we mentioned: Coker, Mitchell.
Can we go with Adonai at wide receiver?
Yeah, for sure.
Just because, look, I hate how many Colts I'm drafting with Daniel freaking Jones as their quarterback, but simply put, like Adonai Mitchell just kind of moves differently than all these other wide receivers that are drafted in this area. And let's say Michael Pittman Jr. misses time or Alec Pierce misses time, then he's out there in 2 or 3 wide receiver sets next to a play caller who I really like in Shane Steichen. And just to get that at this level and a guy who can create so much separation, I think is uncommon in round 17. So,
yeah, I've been taking stabs on him. And if you're, I think it's like if I go Richardson, I'm basically hoping I don't have any stacks, and if I have Daniel Jones, then I want them stacked.
Man, but I've been taking way too much Josh Downs. I'm happy with where Michael Pittman's going in these drafts. Alec Pierce, I'm like a no-go now if I believe Daniel Jones is the quarterback. And then I wasn't the biggest Tyler Warren prospect guy because for a number of reasons, but he's just like going to be on the field every single time. That was the reason why they drafted him, is so they don't have to trot out like the Kylan Gransons, the Mo Alley Coxes, the et cetera guys. They just have one guy out there at all times. So,
yep. How do you? I think we now have kind of the
close this. We have to get a running back. No,
I agree.
Yeah,
I think running back or tight end would be the 2 options.
Okay. I do like some late round tight ends still on the board. Okay. So some super deep ones. Why don't we just, since this is what everyone's here for? Are we up next?
5 picks away. Yeah, I mean,
picks. Okay.
Let it rip.
Terrence Ferguson. I like Terrence Ferguson.
Yep.
Let's
see here.
Theo Johnson, I really like.
Yep. Theo.
And then here's a stupid prediction that no one cares about except for me. You ready?
Okay.
I think that AJ Barner is going to play the most snaps on the Seattle Seahawks at tight end this year.
I mean, I buy that. What? It's a rookie tight end is the only other.
And Noah Fant with 0 guaranteed money. There's in the competition. Okay, we're on the board. So let's look at the running backs. Let's go Blake Corum. I know you just took Blake Corum.
No, I'm good. I think a 5th running back makes more sense. Are you? I know when I had Hayden on, we did Blake Corum and Hunter on the same team, just the all bet against Kyron. Are you on the?
I'm off Kyron too.
Yeah.
I think people, because they watch and listen, we appreciate it so much fantasy content. They're like, I can't believe you guys faded Kyron last year. We didn't. We loved Kyron last year. Like, we were never first team punt returner, yada yada yada. That's a nightmare. No, we love the value that we got from it. But I just think where the NFL is going right now, how he is truly just a volume sponge. And if he goes from 80% of touches down to or 90% of touches in certain situations, like near the goal line, down to 70, 75%, then that tremendously impacts his value, because he's not going to break tackles. He's not an explosive runner either. And so if he just goes to what a normal lead running back gets in terms of workload, then that's a big hit to his value to me.
Yep. Yeah. And the risks just keep piling up as the Rams continue to signal to us that they want to beef up that backfield. Yeah. Are you in on Hunter as well?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he hasn't risen that much. I'm fine with drafting him. And I didn't profile him as someone coming out that was like, oh, he's definitely going to take a lead running back role away from Kyron. I'm not saying he's going to do that. I'm just saying that, again, Kyron is going to have less of a workload than owning everything, 80% of everything from these last 2 years.
Before we recap the team, do you have, because I know a lot of them got taken off the board, but after, say, the DJ Giddens range, who are your favorite rookie running back stabs late right now? Because there's just so many names to sift through.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I haven't drafted that much Rashard Smith. A lot of them are just or the Ja'Cory Krosky Merritts, and we'll find to me, that is what preseason and training camp is all about, is those running backs. If they ever can work themselves up to the backup running back stuff, then we're off to the races, because we're immediately going to start drafting them as the handcuffs. Let me just even look where Giddens is going.
He's
I've been drafting a ton of Braylon Allen, which I know people hate. I know he's going above that, but yeah, Jarquez I'm in on. And then after that, it gets pretty gross to me. It gets really gross to me. I've finished my running back rooms before then, Pete, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which is fair. My thought is that by the end of the summer, there's going to be a couple of these names that bubble up, whether they're Taj Brooks. I know Gretsch was pounding the table for Trevor Etienne recently. I know you're a Carolina guy there, that there's just some of these names in their draft capital or their profile where it's not hard to see them, becoming the RB2 in a very draftable way.
Yeah. Krosky Merritt could be that too, to add in, again, things fluctuate, but there are a bunch of teams where I have both Jalen Wright and Braylon Allen as my running back, 4 or 5. And then just end it there.
Let's recap this team. 2-5-9-2. We started thin at wide receiver, and then we hammered it. Let's see how we did. Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence. We got Bijan, the big dog, Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, and Corum for 5 running backs. Our 9 wide receivers. We got 4 rookies: Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins, and Pat Bryant. And then our vets are Debo, Cedric Tillman, Jalen McMillan, De'Ami Brown, and A.D. Mitchell. And then we got our 2 tight ends, Trey McBride, paired with the new Dolphin, Darren Waller. How do we do, Josh?
What could go wrong?
Mid-draft.
I hated the Jalen Warren pick, just because there was no one in that round that we liked. But, at the same time, who was I going to take? And then, Darren Waller. What could go wrong? What really could go wrong? But I love these quarterbacks loading up on this many wide receivers. And when you do that, the mystery boxes of making many of them rookies lines up with how I would want to attack that position. And we lead off with Bijan and Derrick Henry. What can go wrong from there too?
Yeah. It was a bummer that we couldn't get either Goddard or Strange with Hurts or Lawrence. That stung. Like you said, I would have liked to have gotten a Josh stamp of approval on that Jalen Warren pick, or just any pick that you liked in that range. But otherwise, I think we dug out. How is your equipment? Did your equipment survive the coffee spill?
Yeah, look, I have a notebook that is totally trashed.
Oh, no.
I have a desk mat that now is multicolored with browns and grays. Lots of bills. It got a little bit in the keyboard, and that's already a mess. So I'm not going to show you, Pete, because it has food and hair and other things in it. And then, my phone, I think, is working. So it could have been a lot worse, but it could have been better too. Could have just not been a 5-year-old child and, know where things were on my desk.
I have like this long black mouse and keyboard mat, and you can see like the part where I have my coffee stuff on the end. You know, it's part of it. Gives it character, Josh. It gives it character.
It's more these linen pants. I have no air conditioning up here. I'll show you again. You know,
you got linen pants on. That's classy.
Best ball brunch. It's still real bad.
Look at this, man. This is, people are getting range here on Best Ball Breakfast, because with Leone, we were talking about pants and running shorts that prevent chafing and underwear. And now we got you showing us your pants. And really leaning into, it's not Best Ball Breakfast, it's Best Balls Breakfast today, Josh.
Yeah. These J. Crew factory shorts might just go straight to the trash after that.
It's like, there's like the, in college, I remember I did not have enough money to pull it off, but it's just like, what if I just took my clothes to the dry cleaners every time and I didn't have to do laundry like that? Yeah. You should just do that. Just take it.
And then you show up and then it's like $50 for all of it, like every single item that you have. And that lasts you for what, like 3 weeks, and you go back and do it again and again and again. I slept on a futon for my entire first year of college because I didn't want to like climb up to the top bunk. And that's really gross looking back on it.
Wow. You were afraid, like vertigo type, or like falling off?
It wasn't the most stable thing. And then I just got in the habit of sleeping on this futon. And then that means, Pete, at the same time, I probably didn't wash that like pad.
Yeah, because that's a huge ordeal to unzip the futon thing.
For an entire year. I probably slept on that every night. And people sat on it all day too and played Rock Band and all that type of stuff. So gross.
I can't. The things we did in college from a sanitary,
real disgusting.
Yes. It's also, I always think about like when I studied abroad, and I remember my friend and I like going to this hostel in Amsterdam, and it was like 30 bunk beds out there, people making noise, but it was $16 for the night. And it's just like, at the time it seemed like a perfectly logical decision. And now looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking?
Well, yeah. And you know, I'm sure when my parents or your parents or whoever picked up their children on the last day of college and just like saw the buildup of months and months and months of stuff, the gunk on the floor that you were eating off of, or like picking up the ping pong ball and playing beer pong with that, taking down doors and using those as like tables and all that type of stuff. Just disgusting animals we were in college, but those were the best years.
They really were. Well, Josh, these are now our best years. Getting to draft Best Ball.
I get a refund for these shorts, right? After being on this?
Yes, just send me your invoice. We do refund for any coffee-related accidents.
Cool.
Those are the only ones, because it is part of the show. Josh, everyone knows about the Underdog YouTube channel. You mentioned a video about the first round coming out. Anything else people should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, and then Evan Silva on the channel on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we are doing our second month of this series. It's like a this or that. So it's like when we get to the 9th round, for example, and it's Jalen Warren versus whoever the hell else. Like basically dilemmas that you have in every round of drafts, and like which we are siding with, barring obviously stacks and week 17 correlation and all that fancy schmancy stuff. We're just, hard line, naked drafts of you have to decide between this side or that side, and which side are you on.
That's what actually next week's show is going to be, just naked drafts.
Just naked drafts. I mean, I'm getting close, Pete.
You're almost there. Also, you guys are all over socials now. You got the Twitter accounts, the Instagrams. I've been promised TikTok dances from you, Josh. When are those coming?
Hayden is younger. He's more agile and flexible, and so I think he's going to handle those.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye out for those. Josh, always a treat getting to hang out with you. Appreciate everyone. We got 711 of you watching live, almost 4 hours into a Best Ball live stream. You guys are the best. I'm here every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern doing a solo draft, one with Mike Leone, Pat Carrain, and a rotating guest. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll be back tomorrow for the Swolecast and Off and On the Clock with the Badge Bros, along with all of the usual programming. Shout out to producer Mark here in the hopper. All of you guys who are YouTube members, join me on Wednesday for the Bash, where one of you guys can hop on stream and draft a Best Ball Mania team with me. Until next time, for Josh, for Pat, for Mike, I'm Pete. See ya.